Jeff Ritzman, how are you, old friend? How are you?
I'm well, and you?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Good.
I'm enjoying myself a nice iced cream bar and a diet cream root beer. Creamy root beer, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but it's diet.
Yeah, that part's a problem.
Get that sugar, man. Get it with the sugar.
So do we have a guest for this week, or...
No, we don't. And and if anyone doesn't like that, then, tell it to my butt, because it's the only thing that gives it crap.
Wow. There's a lot of that hostility going around ufology this week.
Yeah.
People need to take a pill. Actually, I don't know if you've been paying attention, but, all the idiots that we make fun of, and some of whom we've named, some of whom we don't?
Yeah.
They're all eating each other alive.
Yes. And if I can make a short statement on that. Anyway, moving right along.
So, here's something interesting. There's a woman who has lived quite an odd life. I mean, some really nasty, abusive stuff in her life. I don't want to even give away who she is, so I won't say more than that. Just really nasty, abusive stuff in her life. Mm-hmm. And so I emailed her to ask her, hey, not to sound insensitive, but, we've got this guy, George Hansen, who says that, if you live in anti-structure, a bunch of shit happens. Anything?
Right.
And it turns out, yes, quite a bit. And she didn't think it was a strange question at all. However, she said over and over again in the email, please do not use my name if you use any of this. And I won't even read her email, because I won't use it unless I'm trying to get her to come on anonymously maybe and talk about it. But is it ironic that somebody who is basically the equivalent of Sybil, in terms of having had abuse happen to her and having lived that sort of horrific life, doesn't want their name used in association with any of the paranormal stuff that's happened to them?
Yeah.
It's like the abuse stuff, that's fine. That's out there in the public. But this stuff, no, that's got to keep that secret.
Huh.
What do you make of that? Do you think you think that is tied in with the morons eating each other alive this week? That the field so looks like that even people whose lives are so traumatized would
rather talk about that than this. Yeah. It's really gotten quite bad. I mean, it really has. I mean, I'll put it this way: when the public face of I guess an extraterrestrial, or I don't know how you put this. The extraterrestrial face to the public is a guy with really huge hair and orange skin that doesn't seem exactly natural. I think we're in trouble. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Yeah, he's the sex symbol of ufology, arguably.
Yeah. So it's horrifyingly bad, in my opinion, at that point. That it's probably something you'd want to distance yourself from. So yeah.
Do you hear that rain out there, by the way?
I'm sorry?
Do you hear the rain out there?
No.
Oh, okay. It's downpouring, so if anyone hears staticky noise, it's rain.
Oh, okay. But no, that doesn't surprise me that someone wouldn't mind airing their personal life in favor of this. This is not a club anyone wants to belong to anymore. So, and henceforth, it's probably why. I mean, I'll be honest with you. This week, I basically went back and forth, like, who should we get on the show? Who should we try and get? And I did, in fact, email a couple of people One being the entire crew of the RMS Titanic Inc., who are basically the salvage guys who are going down to Titanic and bringing up artifacts from the wreck. And also one man who arguably wants to do something interesting. I say arguably because I'm not sure it will actually work. He wants to take a small team of paranormal investigators out to the wreck and I suppose drop mics overboard 2.5 miles down to do EVPs of the wreck. I thought that's interesting and emailed both of those as the 14th of next week will be the 100th anniversary of it going down. And unfortunately, neither one of them got back to us in time for recording. So, but that's that's what I was looking for this week because frankly, there's just nothing in this field that anyone seems to be saying that's floating my boat. I don't know about you, but that's just how I feel about it. I'd rather sit and talk to you, which is arguably painful as well. So.
Jeff Ritzman, you were a kind soul.
Thanks.
Yeah. No, thank you. We're still friends, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
This whole 2012 thing, it seems to have gotten to people.
Just a hair. Just a hair. I do have one thing that...
I mean, a lot of people, Jeff. It's not like one or two people. It's like one, two, three, four... five people I can think of who are all, it's like the snake eating its tail. It's the circle of life.
Yes.
And hopefully they will devour themselves and be gone.
It's pretty shocking, actually. Although not surprising in the long stretch of things, I suppose.
Right.
I do have one thing that I have links here for that I'm going to basically have on the homepage under this show, so you'll be able to click on links to see this. If everybody can think back to the O'Hare UFO photograph that was anonymously given to ATS, that is abovetopsecret.com, way back in the day that I did a crap load of work on. Everybody remembers that photograph. Not sure how many people remember the LaSalle set, which was 4 photographs of a similar looking object in roundabout the same general vicinity. I will see if I can get those from Mark Allen before Showtime airs on Friday, but if not, I'll certainly try and get them posted somewhere or a link to them because they're rather interesting as well. But anybody remember the Amsterdam footage that was on YouTube where you have a basically somebody shooting probably some iPhone footage outside of the window as they're going through the clouds, and there is a very, very brief appearance of a pill-shaped object that seems to be white and or, I don't know, somewhat camouflage-ish looking.
Yeah, I do. I remember that.
Thanks, Jer.
Sure.
There is now another one that is surfaced. That flight was from Amsterdam to Dallas, and this one that has come up more recently, I am going to open because I'm confused as to exactly where this is coming. I'm sorry, this is from Canberra, Australia. This was shot on April 4th, 2012. And this, too, is airplane footage, although it seems to be from the other side of the plane. And as you watch this and as you see the lights going by or some kind of mist, you see a very quick-moving object go by this airplane from the rear of the plane. So it's moving along, I suppose, perpendicular to the body of the aircraft. And it's flying. I mean, really moving out. And when they slow this footage down and they zoom in on the object, it, too, looks like the O'Hare object. And let me say up front, they're YouTube videos. There's no way we can analyze these. I mean, unless they're really glaringly obvious flaws in some kind of CGI process or some kind of composite process. There's nothing that you're going to glean of a detailed analysis on a YouTube video. But I do find it really, really interesting that both of these things look so much alike and then also resemble so closely the O'Hare photograph. It's just very curious. So you'll be able to see both of those on our homepage right below the show. There'll be 2 links there. So click on either one of those and have a look-see. And tell me what you think. The thing I find interesting about both of them is that the UFO sighting is not predominant. It's very fleeting. It's incredibly quick. It's not exactly what I would expect out of a hoax, which normally are better looking or longer or almost to the edge of unbelievable. Could the hoaxers be getting more sophisticated? Yeah, sure, they can be in the technique that they're using, but I always think that they're going to go just a hair past what might be believable. These seem almost what you would expect if someone were shooting out of an airplane window for their blog maybe, or for some kind of short film or something that they're doing of their trip, and something flies by. So this one is just as fleeting as the Amsterdam footage. So have a look-see at that, and tell me what you think. I mean, there's little we can do because there's not really enough there to do any sort of depth, analysis of it. There doesn't seem to be, to me, anything overtly glaring about it being composite. It's just too fast to be able to really tell. The only thing I haven't done with this latest piece is to look and see, is there any hint of this object as it passes beyond the wing? Is there any hint of it showing through the wing, which might indicate some kind of composite thing? I haven't done that, but nonetheless, it's still interesting to look and compare to that photograph from way back when and wonder what if or what could be. Not sure. So, and by the way, the Amsterdam footage, they actually posted a longer version, which is supposedly the unfettered, uncut contents of that film, which kind of cuts from here to there. As you might expect for somebody, record for a few minutes and then, or I guess a matter of seconds, and then stop and pause and start again and that sort of thing. So you get to see the entire file, and whether that makes any difference, it's still chopped up. But nonetheless, whoever did it took the time to post it in such a way as to, I guess, alleviate or throw people off. One or the other. Alleviate suspicion or throw them off and make them think they're seeing something a little bit more honest when it's not. So who knows? But have a look-see. Tell me what you think.
Yeah, have a look-see. Quick timeout just to say, if you were wondering what the hacking, coughing, and EVP of me saying, "Hey, Jeff, are you there?" is all about, my mic was muted, but I could see that it was registering as though a recording were being made on my mic. I don't know how that happened. That's never happened before, but there you go. So, time back in.
Have a look-see.
Jeff?
Yeah.
Is it time to play Let's Pick Someone Who's Online and Call Them?
Yeah, you have somebody in mind.
Yeah, let's just go down the human being randomizer here. Beep, 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 boop, 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 boop. Ah!
We do have Mr. Jeremy Vaeni jumping in, though. You there?
Roejen.
What's up?
What are you doing right now?
Hold on a second here. Hold on a second. Hold on. What the heck?
What are you doing?
Hold on.
Wing.
We were actually in the middle of recording an episode of Project Archivist.
No, wait. Hold on. Hold on. Hold the phone.
If you record audio for any purpose, chances are you want it to be heard. You want to attract the largest audience possible who can hear your message. That's where we come in. We're cyberears.com, a revolutionary internet service that will host your audio files and help you promote and track its popularity. Considering hosting a podcast to the world? We have all the automated tools to make the process as simple and easy as it can be. No technical mumbo-jumbo to work out. CyberEars.com does all the work for you. You record it, we take care of the rest. So don't delay. Go to cyberears.com today and register for a free trial account. Upload your audio files and get heard. With cyberears.com, it's your audio on your terms.
Boom!
He's not here though.
Or is he?
Add him in. I have to add him into
Jeff
the
Ritzman.
Smooth, Vaeni, really smooth.
Star.
Mr. Ritzman.
Oh, good evening. How are you?
Good. How are you?
You're on live Project Archivist, Jeff, with Lobo and Roejen.
There is no live. We pre-record everything. We were recording the show when you called.
Oh, well, then I got a surprise for you, gentlemen, because you're on live with Paratopia.
Get out.
Yes.
Oh, okay. See, wait a minute. How does this work?
I have no idea. My head just fell off.
Oh,
This is ridiculous.
Jeff and I are playing a little game for this week's Paratopia called, Hey, Who's Online? Let's Call Them. And you guys win.
Otherwise known as Paratopia Russian Roulette.
That's right. Chat roulette.
Chat roulette. Oh, you mean masturbation game?
Wait a minute.
let me fire up the camera here.
Should I be taking something off or what?
No.
Oh, God.
No.
Hey, so what's going on in the world of Project Archivist, gentlemen?
Or we just started doing the opening for the next show.
Ah, that sucks, because now you're the guest on Paratopia, so that's going to have to wait.
Oh no! Part of this is going to go into our show. We're gonna have a mutually shared show this week.
It's hilarious.
Have you been
We are
paying
the
attention?
easiest bastards in the world.
Have you been paying attention to the illiterati of ufology eating itself? Have you-
What?
I guess not.
What hurts now?
This week, it seems that everyone's gone just batshit, and they're all just fighting each other. It's great.
Wait, this week?
Yes.
This is normal in with ufology. I mean, this doesn't happen all the time in your field.
Well, you know.
Well, there's that.
What do you guys know? Next week we'll be trashing you.
Oh, God.
Love you.
Mwah, smooches.
Go right ahead.
Well, what are you guys doing on your show? Maybe we can take your guest or something away as well.
Actually, we don't have any guests tonight. We're just covering weird news stories. We're just doing a Ramblecast tonight mostly.
Oh, that sounds fucking fascinating. Jeff, why didn't we think of that? Random news stories.
Yeah, can I get a chair over here real quick?
Oh, my God.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, we can read off some of the stories we were going to cover tonight here. We were going to cover the six-legged calf that was born.
Dinosaurs live in the ocean or in water. They're giant sharks.
Man struck by lightning after purchasing Mega Millions lottery ticket.
Smallest town in the United States was purchased for $900,000.
Sex for a cheeseburger. Christina Baker offered favors for 2 doubles, cops say.
And nanotechnology, pharmaceuticals.
And zombie DNA can wake up and cause disease. Boy, it would sound like we pre-scripted all of what we just did, doesn't it?
Here's the question I got for you. Now, Roejen,
Wait, we're not done yet. We can
Oh, go
already
ahead,
program nano drugs to fight cancer. Go ahead.
lest we forget. Roejen, you have in your day seen a werewolf, and Lobo, you in your day have seen a talking toucan. How can you possibly be satisfied with those stories that you just read to me?
Because they're safe. It's safe. I can say this guy's hypothesis on dinosaurs is complete bunkum, but when the bird flew in the window, I'm like, this is happening.
Yeah. Those are things that, and I'm quite content covering it because I don't put that much thought into what I saw. I just kind of accept it and roll with it. It's not, I haven't lost a whole lot of sleep over it.
Right.
So. I did. I lost months of sleep with that.
Can I dream your dream?
Which one is that one? The one about the dusty blonde, or
Any of them.
What does Jeff Ritzman dream about? That's kind of a good question. Jeff, what do you dream about?
I'll tell you what I dreamed about the other night. I dreamed about friggin' snakes.
snakes?
I had a dream right before I woke up, day before yesterday, that I don't know, there was cobras and they were everywhere. I mean, big ones, and I woke up, just in a, I don't know, in kind of a funk about cobras. And
Did you do you remember what you ate before you went to bed and how long you ate it before you went to bed?
I ate approximately a block of cheese as big as a toaster about 2 minutes before I went to sleep.
Are you being serious?
No, of course not.
Okay. Well, cheese will do it to you.
I know cheese is kind of your thing, so I'm just saying.
Cheese. Well, it depends which cheese you eat too. So seriously, Stilton. If you eat Stilton cheese,
will not allow you to have dreams, and in fact, we'll make you run to the toilet every 3 minutes. But that ricotta, it smells like vomit for a reason.
Great in lasagna.
That's right.
Oh my God.
I think we had pizza that night.
Pizza's another really good one.
Yeah.
I can eat anything. I could eat a child before I go to sleep, and I won't have any weird dreams.
Oh God, here we go again. Here come the
bad to eat before you go to bed is spider monkey. Don't ever do that.
Okay, I'll write that down.
Yeah.
It's good to know.
Spider monkey.
Right.
Jeff, this has gone really well.
Okay.
I believe so.
I just wanted to throw that in there.
You cannot get a serious paranormal talk between us. You got to be kidding me. We don't even cover paranormal that much anymore.
Why? Because you're better than us? Wait a second, Jeff. Because you're better than us?
No, it's just,
you guys have it pretty well covered.
Oh, that's
that's exactly it.
That's what I meant. Yes, go on.
That is the correct answer. Can I question why does I mean, I don't have my glasses on, so I'm sorry to say that if this is an error, but Lobo, is your icon for Skype the bloop from Lost in Space?
Actually, no. It's hold on a second. Let me make sure. Let me look at the picture. I haven't looked at it in a while. I believe it is Emepenguari.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, it's Emepenguari.
That's bloop, right?
No. Close.
Now, why is your name Lobo when the other guy is the guy who saw the werewolf?
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't feel a name I don't feel a need to name myself after a reported werewolf thing that I'm not sure if I actually saw.
I just blew your mind. Just let it happen. I just blew your mind.
I just blew your mind. All right there, Chris Angel.
Trickster.
Hey, here's a question for you guys. This is something that Jeff pointed out the other day.
Yes.
We don't even have to mention who it is. But let's say it's a famous guy who claims to be an alien abductee. Tragedy has become him, and yet he's wearing these alien shirts. If you had these tragic, odd alien things that were plaguing you your entire life, would you wear the shirt?
No. You already know my attitude on the whole alien abduction phenomena stuff. I mean, the people that have had it happen to them, the legitimate people that have had something happen to them, don't make it a habit of walking around saying, hey, I've been abducted and alien probed, and I'm going to tell everybody that wants to hear about it. I mean, you've ran into people that have had something happen to them, and the people that generally are legit don't make it a point of walking around with alien T-shirts on. These are people. Usually, people want to keep that kind of stuff under wraps and have a hard time talking about it. So,
how about fuck him?
Right.
How about that?
Fair enough.
For the win.
How about that?
So, I mean, like I said, I've said before, your guys' field is batshit crazy for the most part.
So let's get back to the zombie thing. What are you talking about? You just read all those news articles.
We haven't read any of them yet. You hijacked our show.
Well, this is the zombie one is it's a strand of DNA that's been found within junk DNA that may have something to do with muscular dystrophy.
Huh.
And they simply refer to it as zombie DNA because it's a DNA that doesn't really have any kind of purpose. It's just a random DNA that comes in and screws things up.
Like Pritchett.
Yes, exactly.
There it is.
Junk DNA.
Or if you say his name too many times, he's like Beetlejuice, you'll appear.
Fuck him. How about that?
I will be editing all of this out.
Leave it.
So did you guys happen to read about I believe it's in Africa, there's apparently some kind of virus that is affecting children under the age of 15 that cause them to essentially act like zombies. I mean, This was the thing that came up a couple of weeks ago. There was a show, I think it was called Survival Zombie Attack or something like that. I was really shocked to see that it was actually scientists talking about what happens when the zombie apocalypse occurs and how can you stay alive and what should you have on hand and what should you do. This is all treated very seriously. Mm-hmm. And I kind of looked at my wife and she smiled at me and she's like, yeah, zombie apocalypse. Mm-hmm. I was like, right. What?
Yeah, exactly.
Chef on or something? Can't we change it?
Yeah, like
No, that's a degenerative. I believe it's a. I think Lobo knows a little bit more about it than I do, but I believe it's a degenerative nerve wasting disease that it basically attacks your nervous system and wears it down to where you're not actually you're effectively a zombie because you can't really do anything. You're just your system's shot.
Yeah.
You turn into the shambling horde. It's messed up. It really is.
What do you think? What do you guys think has brought on this whole zombie thing? I mean, the past 5 years or so, 4 years. This has really gotten
prions
huge. I mean,
Lobo, your microphone's really low.
I did what now?
There you are. There you are. You were like a mile away. All I heard was prions.
Some of it's been linked to prion disorders. I mean, you can't cook it away. It can't be burned away. It doesn't digest away. It's a protein that just can't be destroyed, and it latches on. You get these third world countries that are eating subpar foods because it's all they can afford. It's going to be passed around, and it's going to be kept quiet to a lesser extent because, where do they get the food from?
All right. Yeah.
Well, you know what's weird about the zombie craze in pop culture? Like when you've got the vampire craze is all about, oh man, I wish I were a vampire because I wish I had those powers and I could just live forever and all that. But then the zombie craze, how many people do you know, myself included, who are like, oh man, I really wish that apocalypse would happen so we could all just start over?
I know people. I seriously do know people that are convinced that the zombie apocalypse is coming. I have a buddy who shall remain nameless who makes it a point to buy zombie survival backpacks, and he's got all these little weird implementations and. I'm like, why do you have this? He goes, for when the zombie apocalypse hits. And he's half joking, but I think part of him is very serious. And it's like, for real, dude, really? Yeah. I'm like, if this does in fact hit, you realize you live in a condominium that is not zombie safe in the middle of a metropolis. So you're screwed.
They can't do stairs, so you're fine.
Yeah, really.
Right.
You're set,
that was one of the things that they brought up on this show was, there is a whole, I guess, online community that it's based upon city, and they meet online at first, and then you're kind of indoctrinated into the group that way, and then they meet in real life and they discuss exactly what they're going to do and how they can be prepared for this. But in addition to that, they're also raising money for everything that deserves to have money given to it, children's cancer wards and all these sorts of things. So they're doing these things for the benefit of the community. But ultimately, what the guy said, I think it was, I want to say somewhere on the West Coast, the guy says, ultimately, if you're prepared for a zombie apocalypse, an earthquake ain't bad.
Right.
So it's like, that's an interesting way of thinking about it. But it's just like, part of me goes, is this a product really of our society right now?
Yes.
As depressed as everybody is, as angry as everybody is,
yes.
Would this just be another way for people to kill indiscriminately with absolutely no remorse whatsoever?
Sure. He was moving. He's a zombie. Shoot him.
Right, exactly.
It could just be a direct reflection of the society that we're living in right now. I mean, really, how many people, I'm sure they say, yes, a zombie apocalypse is coming, but in the back of their minds, how many of these people really believe this stuff? And if they do, wow.
There's medication for that, I think, isn't there?
Yeah, really. So,
can I ask, this is a real good question. I mean, how come all this stuff happens on the West Coast? These really strange think tanks happen on the West Coast. How come? Is it because we're like intellectually superior here on the East Coast because we come from Puritan stock, or is it just that everybody over there is batshit crazy?
I think it's because, they're batshit crazy because they were a product of the flower power movement, and so they're probably still on LSD. But I think the East Coast, you got things to do.
Yeah, really.
You're busy, really. So you don't have time to do all that thinking.
Jeremy Vaeni at.
Well, you do have, like in nature, there's all kinds of things in nature. Like there's a disease out there that infects ants, and this disease, what it does is it controls the ants, and it makes them climb to the tallest tree that they can possibly get in. Yeah, it's a parasite, and what it does is it reproduces, and the idea is it drives these ants crazy and controls them to climb to the tallest possible tree that they can find at the highest point, and then the parasite explodes out of it, and it goes out and falls down and infects other ants.
Actually, no, that's not how it works. It gets eaten first. It has to be passed through the entrails of a particular bird species.
That's right.
Wow.
So there are things out there. There's another one out there where it's a parasite that controls wasps. It's one that gets onto a wasp. And how's that one work?
Yeah, that one I've heard of. Yeah, it burrows into the brain somehow, and it actually becomes a zombie. It becomes a puppet of the parasite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sends the wasp. That particular, if it's the same one I'm thinking of, and I believe it is, it sends the wasp into ant territory so that the ants can take the body parts down, and it gets spread through the ant colony.
Exactly.
There's also one that's what the hell's the name of it? It's found in cats, and people carry it around. But
is that the one that comes from the litter boxes?
It does. What the hell's the name of it?
Worms.
Yeah, that's it. Pregnant women are supposed to stay away from stuff. What is the name of it?
So yeah, this stuff is actually out there in the world now. Why? There's beliefs out there that this stuff, if it were to jump species, a la the bird flu of some kind or another, that we could have a situation on our hands. But again, that's just it's a speculation. I've never seen anything like mankind, that we're so infatuated with our end and our destruction that if we don't know if something's going to happen, we will create something to worry about for us to die.
Like fear of the unknown and the fear of our own mortality. That's the problem.
Yeah. It's like the 2012 apocalypse,
here we go.
I remember the Y2K situation and how, I walked into a bookstore when Y2K, before Y2K hit, and you walk over to, because I'm prone to walk over to the paranormal section, of course. So you walk over there and there was like 9 million shelves about Y2K, and the same situation happening with 2012 where, Y2K, this is the end of things, this prophecy, this prophecy, this, all of the Y2K end of the world kind of stuff happens. And then at the time I was a manager at a grocery store, and people were coming in and buying pallets and pallets of water and just trays of vegetables and canned goods and stuff. And of course, nothing happened. Fast forward 12 years later to 2012, no one knows for sure what's going to happen, but we're pretty sure we think we know what's going to happen. So we created all manners of sun explosions and returning demons to eat us. And it's just like Y2K with the opposite. Okay, now we've got, the Great Awakening is coming, and we're just infatuated with, what's going to happen to our species, and we'll create something. Or what's the planet that's supposed to be coming back, Lobo? The one, the Bureau, yeah. That always pops up.
Planet X with Pamela Anderson.
Exactly.
Here's what I don't understand about all of that. We, like you said, we've got these scenarios where we're either going to be enlightened or we're going to be destroyed, or some combination, and people prepare for these, at least in their heads, if not in practicality. So why do we have to wait for a cataclysm or a godlike experience? Why can't we just get off our asses and change the world right now to the way we want it to be? Why do we have to wait for that outside impetus if we're, so set on creating it with our intent or whatever? Why not just do it? Why not just change?
You can't do that.
You can't. One of the most fear-based things in humans in general is the fear of change, no matter what it is. And if you want something done, the go-getters and the movers and the shakers in society of all times, from the beginning to now, have always been the ones that weren't afraid of change, weren't really caught up in the whole bibliotech nonsense that goes along with a lot of it, and they're just doing their thing and moving forward. Now, for us as a species as a whole, you need that prodding in order to do something. And most of the time, it's like, oh, well, God moves in mysterious ways, and this happened for a reason, and that's why we're all going this direction. No, someone got bored, and they really saw a need to change, and they did, and people followed along, because sad to say, most people are just sheeple.
Yeah, like at Harold Camping. That's a prime example.
Here, have some of this.
Yeah, that's
what's that? And explain that to people.
The Harold Camping thing, where you know what I'm talking about. The guy was like, yeah, the end of the world's going to happen on this date. Well, I was wrong. Now it's going to happen in this. Yeah.
Now it's coming in October, and I was wrong. And the dude's wrong. He fleeced his flock of so much money, and then said, well, I must have read it wrong. My dates were off. Really? Your dates were off. Okay, if I have scheduled an appointment for my car to be worked on, and I bring the car there, and they don't do the work, I'm going to be pissed. If they charge me for it, in essence, that's what the guy did. Send me your money. Send me money. Send me green. Heaven you will meet. Make your contribution, and you'll get a better seat.
It's a Steve Bassett model.
It's
Exactly.
crazy. It's crazy. It's I don't understand. People are so, they need something so badly in this day and age to latch onto that they're going to listen to freaking anything.
Well,
I mean,
this is
I
something
can't understand.
I wanted to bring up to Jeff, and I had forgotten all about it before. Which is, did you guys read about the cult in France? It's actually a town of about 20,000 people.
You mean where the spaceships are going to land?
Yeah, they believe that the mountain is there's an inverted mountain, and they think that the spaceship, is actually in the mountain right now, and that the aliens are going to come out at the end of 2012 and save them all. But it looks like what they're doing has all the earmarks of gearing up for a mass suicide of some sort.
Absolutely,
according to authorities.
Absolutely. And it's going to hit the fan, and it's going to be one of the worst massacres. And everybody's like, well, we didn't see it coming. And the people that have rational minds are going to be like, really? You didn't see this coming? Had you learned nothing from the Hale-Bopp comet?
Yeah, this is the way these things work. Actually, Jeremy, you made a comment about it, maybe about a year ago in one of the episodes when you were talking about how these people come along and they just cleanse themselves off the face of the earth. And, in the background, in the UFO community and stuff, there's a silent sigh of relief. And then you kind of wait for the next group to come along, with the next alien UFO, man-made crazy story. So, these things happen. It's what kills me is the people that, like, I've seen a lot of religious fundamentalists that are hardcore, that they almost want this stuff to happen, and they're like, well, how can you not be excited and happy about this? And like, because I don't want to die. Well, you're not actually dying. You're going to move on to my deity's chosen afterlife plane of existence or whatever, and it's like when the camping thing came along, I knew people that, when it didn't happen, it was like, look, see, it didn't happen. And they would just gravitate to the next one and say, like I have friends that are religious fundamentalist friends that they've now gravitated towards the zombie apocalypse thing as the next thing to come along, So
how do you gravitate towards something that is a work of fiction of modern time? That I don't understand.
Have you read?
Same way you gravitate to things that are a work of fiction from the past.
Exactly.
Jeremy, have you read AD? I'm just wondering.
I just got done with Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Can't wait.
Okay, fantastic.
Age of the Dawn
Traitor. Part I don't understand.
I'm going to go sit in my closet.
This boggles my mind, okay? We have this whole 2012 thing going on, okay? And it seems like the people that are really latching onto it are the Christian fundamentalists, the nuts, right?
That's what it's become.
Why? Yeah, it's what it's become.
That's what it's become.
On Earth, would a group of people that completely denounce paganism in all of its forms be following after a group of people by all rights were tried to be wiped off the face of the planet because they were pagans? Why would you follow that? Because it's convenient that it happens to fit the mold for, hey, the world's going to end and maybe we'll be right about it this time?
That also brings up a point. Me and Lobo were talking about it one time about how the Aztecs that are still around today have come out and said, you white men are crazy. This calendar is just, a repeating process, and it's not what you people think it is. And then the fundamentalists are like, oh, no, this is the end of the world and you're wrong. So essentially you've got one belief system telling another belief system about their belief and their religions and how their belief and their religion is wrong because the other belief system tells them that that's wrong. It's like, we don't believe in what you believe in, but we're going to base our beliefs on what you believe in, and what you believe in is wrong. It's kind of like you scratch your head and go, what?
And what's even worse is the Christian faith is always so quick to jump on this thing and say, this is it. This is the one. Mm-hmm. And yet the sacred text where all their belief is rooted says man will not know the hour.
No,
exactly.
Come as a
what is your problem with that? What is your problem with not listening to your own book?
It's not even all of the Christian faith.
No, it's not. It's just the nuts that you hear about. Most Christians, most Christians are like, do whatever you want. Whatever. Yeah. I don't care.
Yeah.
I know where I am. I know what I'm saved. I've taken Jesus into my heart, and he's my savior, and you can do whatever you want. The nut jobs are the ones that you hear about that are standing at funerals protesting and saying that God hates fags and all something. Like, really? How do you really? What part of love them just like I love them are you missing? You just remove that whole part out so that it fits for you.
which goes back to the 2012 thing where it all started initially because of the Mayan calendar. And now all of this stuff, just like Y2K, is being piled onto, 2012. I can't wait to walk into a bookstore and see the 2012 clearance books go on sale.
Just see a move from fact to the fiction section.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see.
Well, here's a $20 million question for anyone here. So we can make fun of 2012 all we want, but there's no denying that nature is, in fact, going haywire at the moment. So whether it's 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, doesn't matter. Something's happening here. Do we worry about this? I mean, can we sit here and laugh at 2012 and then in 2013 we all die anyway? Do you think that's possible?
Yeah, no, I don't think
at this point, that's fine. What are you going to do about it? If the world's going to end tomorrow, is it going to stop you from getting up for work?
Well, I don't get up for work.
All right. Well, is it going to stop you from looking out there at that chicken that kept crowing in the background when Ted was on?
No, nothing can stop me from that. But I'm just saying, don't you find it odd that we are living in a time of extremes?
We always have.
We haven't always have. Not the way it is now.
I don't think so. I disagree. When I was young and growing up in the 70s, all I heard about was Ayatollah Khomeini, and this is the nuclear war that's coming. And I believe there was also an end of the world scare, I think in 88 or 89. And we are also, that back then they were discovering that there was earth changes going on. There is always, it's like the movie Men in Black. There is always a super plague out there. There is always a meteor about to careen into the planet. There is always a renegade comet. There is always a soothsayer or crazy religion or, there's always something out there. Again, it's something that we gravitate to. And like Lobo said, there's nothing we can do about it. Yes, there are earth changes going on, but is it possible that these earth changes have always been going on, but we haven't been technologically advanced to be able to pay attention to them and we're as connected to be able to realize what's going on?
Well, no, I think it's what you just said. I mean, part of that, you can get rid of like the nuclear boogeyman. Let's just concentrate on nature and say, we've known since at least the 70s that this was happening, but then it turned into a political issue. Nobody wanted to deal with it, and now we're seeing it come to fruition.
And it's still a political issue, and people still don't want to deal with it.
The only problem.
But what I'm saying is that this is actually happening, as opposed to the Ayatollah or whoever you want to put the nuclear threat on. That's something that is a perpetual motion machine for politics in fear. But the nature thing, it's pretty undeniable, except for extremists at the moment. And it is different. I was talking to a man from Alaska who was saying that they have these forests they call the drunken forests because, all the trees are sagging or just bent over because they are rooted in the permafrost, which no longer exists. Right. And that roads are now lumpy by many, many feet. So
they're heaving and stuff. Yeah, but I would agree with the fact that at this time the Earth is going through some dramatic changes. I will not deny that. However, if you look at what was going on through ice core samples right before the mini ice age, it was very similar to what's going on now. There were higher greenhouse level gases. There were places that were recording, according to the ice core samples, recording dramatic swings in temperature, and then the mini ice age hit.
I think that's what's going to happen. I think that's what we're setting up for. But my question is, while we sit around and we laugh about 2012 and make fun of people, are we all going to die anyway? Does it matter? Does it matter how right or wrong anyone is if, in 2014, there's a quick freeze and we have a new ice age?
No, but you know what? I'll feel pretty good if I die frozen in 2014, knowing that the nut jobs that told me that I was going to go to hell in 2012 were wrong. That would make my life worth living.
You're dying, but it's worth it.
Absolutely.
Bring me to my maker, 2014.
That's it. It's not going to change the fact that I still got to pay for my 3 kids.
Right. The other thing is we are beginning to make changes. We're a stubborn species. It's going to take us time to do anything. Like where I work right now, I am test driving a lot of electric and hybrid cars because I'm a test driver for vehicles. And I can tell you right now that this stuff, whether or not the powers that be are trying to fight it and prevent it from happening, it's coming. This technology change is coming. These things are out there and they're going to happen. And what really is going to change it I hate to be this way, but it comes down to money. Once somebody says we can do this and we can be profitable doing it, that's when you're going to start to see these changes happen. And that's what I'm seeing happen in the automotive industry, is because the automotive industry is saying, hey, we can make these cars, and eventually we can make them sooner than later. We can make these cars and we can make them at a profit to where we have to rely on less and less gasoline, and you're seeing it in the solar powered industry. China's jumped on board, and China's now producing solar panels for much, much cheaper.
I just heard the strangest commercial today on DRC FM. The strangest commercial in my entire life. It was a commercial for a company that is now offering you solar power. You get the panels for free.
Yeah.
They come and put them on your house, and then all you pay is a monthly premium.
Correct. Yeah. That's been running in Baltimore now for about a year.
Yeah, we just had it. Well, it's hard here in Wallingford because we have our own power plant. So, I mean, no one's allowed in here. I get phone calls all the time. Well, switch up to power. No, I'm already paying like 0.1% on my electrical now. So you're not going to offer me anything interesting.
Yeah, so these changes are coming. This stuff is going to happen. So I believe that I would like to believe, I should say, that we're eventually going to get our act together. If you can get past all the political crap, all the Democrat, Republican, this is happening for that reason, because everybody's got their own agenda as far as that stuff goes.
Cthulhu 2012.
Exactly. But you're going to see, I think we're beginning to see these changes happen now. And I think it's going to come down to, can we do this and make these changes and still be profitable? And I think you can, because the technology is becoming cheaper. Like where I live in Detroit, just outside of Detroit, if you cross the bridge and go into Canada and Windsor, there's wind farms everywhere. And I was also, I had to go out to Denver and pick up some vehicles and bring them back to Michigan. And we stopped in, I believe it was Iowa, I think it was Iowa. And there was actually one of these wind turbines there. And I'd always heard, these things are noisy, they're loud, they kill birds, blah, blah. And there was one at a rest stop. It was huge, and I stood underneath it. I didn't hear anything.
Right.
It was like, these things are loud. And I'm like, no, they're not. So this is a myth here. But I'm seeing these airfields that are popping up all over the place in farmers and lands. And I believe... I think it was last week somewhere I read an article that wind farms up in the upper Michigan are actually being paid to not produce electricity right now because they're producing a surplus. And when the electric company buys this energy back off of people, and they're actually telling people, whoa, hold up, we're doing good here. We don't need this extra energy.
Yeah.
So I think
that's saying something right there, isn't it?
Yeah. So I think
they're trying to shoot down the one that's in Long Island Sound. They've been trying to shoot that down for couple of years now.
Well, I'll tell you what's really ridiculous is, at least in Maryland, at least in the county that I live in, I'll speak only for my county, I can't have a wind turbine.
Yeah, that's messed up, isn't it?
They've got you can put them on your roof. They've got large ones that look pretty much like a cylinder or a sphere that's chopped into segments and then kind of wedged out. You can't own one.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? In my backyard right now, where you see a lot of people have these small vegetable gardens, you can't have them here anymore.
Oh.
At what point are people going to say, you know what, this is my fucking land and I pay the taxes on it, so I'll do what I want. Thanks.
Yeah, that's right. That's screwy.
Which I've already planted tomatoes this year, so
go for it. Yes,
go to hell.
Yeah.
But there's been stories that I've seen both locally and nationally where yes, you will. I guess through neighbor reporting or perhaps flyovers of police choppers or what. I don't know how they're finding these things out, but.
Really, they're
local government
people
coming in,
having
pulling up
gardens?
people's. Yes, they're pulling up these people. And let's be honest, some of these people have done these in their front lawn. I mean, there is a point where it can get a little overboard. That's understandable from an aesthetic point of view to the neighborhood, but aren't we past that by this point?
Hope so.
God, you would think.
That's the thing, and that's
you're growing
the
a
bullshit
hydroponics
part.
pot lab in your yard,
right? Yeah, that's the bullshit thing to me. Is like you've got this
hey,
land
man, I need
here.
to score some tomatoes. You got some good stuff.
Right.
Yeah, I got some Colombian reds right here.
Yes. Those burpees are going really good, man.
These are fine grade cherries, man.
Right. When it comes to that, it's like, at what point is government going to keep their nose out of it and say, well, let people do what they want if they're going to grow? Right down the street from me, thank God, I have an Amish market. And
that's awesome.
I would say about 6 or 8 months ago, we started going there to buy damn near everything.
Mm-hmm.
The meat alone.
It's unbelievable, isn't it?
Here's what's really bizarre to me. I have eaten beef and chicken and fish like
You
everybody
definitely
else
can
probably.
taste the difference with the
My
eyes.
whole life, okay? And about 10 years ago, I started eating, I was eating chicken normally, and all of a sudden 10 years ago, something changed, and I began to get really sick whenever I would eat anything with chicken in it. The wife would make chicken and béarnaise. It used to be my favorite thing in the world. I used to get violent cramps, diarrhea, on the verge of vomiting. Out of nowhere, this came up. And she says, "What is wrong with you?" I went to the doctor. He says, "Nothing is wrong with you." I ceased eating poultry for a while. I just stopped. Since we went to the Amish market where they don't drug their animals, they don't feed them antibiotics, they don't give them all of the hormone activating drugs that the big meat companies do, I can eat chicken again.
Amazing, isn't it?
I started eating their beef and their steaks. And it was probably been a couple of months ago. We simply didn't get up early enough to go to the market to get beef that week. And we went to the regular supermarket, and Lisa made chili with supermarket ground beef. And we all got sick.
That
all
brings
of us.
me back to my point. Again, I think this is where things are starting to change. Like, you're seeing more farmers markets pop up. Every city around here has a farmers market in the summertime on the weekends and things like that.
Place here.
Yeah,
literally.
where people are beginning to go and buy vegetables from their neighbor or from the local guy. You're just had the situation
that
with
I go to.
Go ahead.
There's a dairy barn that I go to. It's about 20-minute drive from here. It's on the way to my in-laws' house, my brother-in-law's place, and it's open 24 hours a day. It's got a cash box in it, and it's on the honor system. And they sell raw milk. They sell veal. Unbelievable, the best veal I've ever eaten in my life. And these little animals aren't in cages.
We're giving
They
little
wander
Jeremy a heart
around.
attack here talking about all this meat.
They just wander around free.
Yes.
You know, they have fresh eggs. I gave my wife fresh eggs, and she's like, "These are terrible." Like, really? You'd rather have these freaking things that have been sitting on a shelf for 3 months?
Yeah, when you're used to McDonald's, it's hard to go, eat a gourmet meal. That's the thing. I mean,
it's unbelievable. The quality is just unsurpassed. And
Yeah.
It's like what happened with the
fresh everything.
with the pink sludge stuff that just went
Pink
down.
slime.
Yeah, the pink slime that just went down. That's another great example of how I think people are. The trick is convincing people, hey, this isn't a political thing. This isn't a Democrat, Republican thing. You're not a hippie if you want to go down and get something from the farmer's market. It's okay to care. It's like what you guys said about ufology. It's okay to question things. It's okay to do that without being looked at like you're weird. I think that's beginning to change. Like, it's okay to drive a hybrid car. It doesn't necessarily mean if you have a hybrid car that you're a hippie. And
No, it does. It means you're a hippie.
but I think you're going to start seeing these things change on a fundamental individual person level, where if we could get away from the politics involved and say, hey, we need to care about ourselves a little bit more. And I think you're starting to see that change. And again, it comes down to, not so much with the farmers markets and stuff, but I think it's going to come down, I hate to say it, but it's going to come down to, can we do this and be profitable? And once somebody comes along and says, yeah, we can do this energy shift and change this and do that and still be able to make money on it, you're going to see more and more people jump on to things like that. And we may just actually save our asses, but again, it comes down to also, is it too late? Have we done enough damage to where we can't reverse it? Have we smoked cigarettes for so long at this point that the planet's lungs are damaged? But I think we'll get our act together. I think
there's one fundamental thing that everybody forgets, and that is the human race is a virus with sneakers. It's really, for as fragile as we are, it is really, really hard to kill us off. Because we're everywhere, literally. The only place we're not on a regular basis is Antarctica, and we have people down there, and they have freaking tours you can go on now.
Yes, they do. You can take a ship down there in the summertime. Their summertime. Mm-hmm. So
it's just, you look at it. Let's go back even 50 years. 50 years ago, I don't know about in Maryland, and I don't know about. Well, you were in Massachusetts, right, Jer?
Yeah, born in Massachusetts and New York. Yeah.
So I know I'm good old New England boy. 50 years ago, you knew where your food came from. I can go to Maine right now, where part of my family's from, which I'll be going back to in August, and you know where your food comes from. You go to the butcher, you go to the farm market. They still do this. People still go to Walmart for their odds and ends. But if you want real meat, there's still places that sell real meat, and you know where your stuff's coming from. If I want a steak, I can stand there and watch the butcher cut the steak, or I can buy it myself and butcher it myself, which I've done. Mm-hmm. It's just so many people in this day and age have gotten so used to the fact that they'll just run down to the grocery store and they'll buy whatever prepackaged nonsense. They don't even care. If I want some really good hamburger, I'll stand there and I'll watch through the window as the butcher at my local grocery store grinds the meat to make me hamburger. I'll watch them cut the roast into the steaks I want, or I'll watch them cut the loins. You know what? It's got a face. To me, it's delicious. I don't care.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
I'll tell you what also is really encouraging is the maker movement, which is really
maker fairs are fantastic.
I mean, it's exploding, and it's amazing to me that with all of the gadgetry that we've got, and I mean, I lost my cell phone probably 8-9 months ago. I was amazed and disgusted at how devastating that was to me. Yeah. At the same time, I'm like, oh God, no. And, and I think to I go, well, what is wrong with you? You didn't have a smartphone, 3 months ago. So what's the problem now? But the makers movement is getting to be really leggy. I mean, you got Make Magazine out there. It's all that. I mean, and
what is the makers movement?
It's people essentially making anything that they want anytime they want. I mean, everything from the cigar box guitars to just anything, to doing anything alone with your hands. Yeah. You mentioned solar panels, making solar panels out of hefty bags and glass.
Jeremy, we're actually, this is one of the neat things. We're living in kind of a cool age, and this is, you haven't heard about it, obviously. Here's an example. I
don't know anything about cool ages.
Well, this is neat. This is really cool, actually. This is something that hasn't happened in a very long time. And because of the things going the way they are, it's like Jeff said, people are beginning to manufacture stuff on their own and market their own stuff and form companies doing this. We have 2 places in Detroit up here. One of them is called OCD. I can't remember what it stands for, OmniCorp Development or something. And there's another place that Ford also sponsors. These are shops where if you have an idea, say you want to make a hydrogen-powered car, but you don't have the tools, you don't have a machine shop, you don't have the welding stuff. There are places in Detroit now that, because Detroit's the city of innovation and stuff, that you can go into these buildings and they provide you the tools, they'll provide you a welding area, they'll provide you machine shops where you can go in there with your stuff and you can rent the shops out for a very cheap price. As long as you maintain it, clean up your mess, and don't steal stuff, you can go in there and you can actually engineer and develop your own products. You no longer have to have a workshop to do stuff. If you've got an idea, blueprints, and a way to do it, you can go into these places and you can pay a monthly fee and you'll have a set time and you go in and you use their machines to build things.
And a lot of these places actually have skilled people there who, if you can't do something, they will go look at your idea and go, either this is not feasible or this is feasible. And if so, they'll help you do it. Yeah. I mean, which is even amazing. I mean, we have that in Harford County in Maryland, and we've got it probably in a lot of other counties where you've got these separate shops I mean, many of them, at least the ones that I know of around here that I'm thinking of, they are not even state or county run. They are owned by individuals that just have a back shop, and everybody brings tools. You donate tools to this maker shop, and
some of them even have
amazing.
3D printers. You can go in. They've got. Are you familiar with what a 3D printer is?
Oh yeah, I am.
Okay. What they
Jeremy, this is a wonderful machine. I'm telling you.
Awesome.
Yeah, literally
anything with it.
You put it. They've got a program you can get, and they're actually. What's cool is they're actually like BitTorrent sites are now allowing you can download. I'll get to that in a second. It's a printer that they either use metal or they use plastics. And what it does is you put a design into it, and it will make it. There are companies out there that you can get little plastic Starship Enterprises, and what you put this design into the machine, and what it does is it uses inkjet printers, but it uses them with various like little melted plastics, and it will literally create something for you 3-dimensionally. Mm-hmm. You can make literally whatever you come up with, you can put into this machine with a 3D graphics program, and the machine will print it for you. You can
make toys.
Tools,
anything. Leno's got a rapid prototyper, so he can make parts for his cars.
Exactly. And this is fairly it's fairly inexpensive technology. You can get one of these 3-dimensional printers for about $1,000. You know, you can get a decent one, and they're made from old inkjet printers. They use the same motors and everything. And now you go to BitTorrent sites where people BitTorrent movies and video games and stuff. You can actually go to a BitTorrent site, and there's people that will put 3-dimensional designs up there. You can download them, and then you can go home and print your own stuff out. You can make silverware, you can make dice for Dungeons and Dragons, you can make tools, you can make anything literally that your brain can come up with. These 3D printers can make, and the
complexity of them is the other ridiculous thing. I mean, there's a company out there called Shapeways. If you do a search on the net, and these guys will rapid prototype anything that you've got in a 3-dimensional set, and they're doing things like cubes that have filigree inside of them that are basically, you know, geometric bisections of all sorts of 3D models put together, and they can exist within each other. In other words, nested objects can now be created in 3-dimensional space in a thing you could hold in your hand. Which technology-wise, I mean, this is something that 10 years ago you couldn't even think about doing for less than several thousands of dollars.
Jeff, have you been to a maker fair yet? Have you actually been to a real maker fair?
I haven't. I mean, I've been invited to countless.
Go next time opportunity you have to go to one. We have one up here at the Henry Ford.
I'm always working. That's the problem.
I was too, and I went to one last year, and I cannot wait to go to the next one. The stuff that I saw there, it really made me change my opinion of where we have the potential to go, because there's just people there, and it wasn't just 3-dimensional printers. It was people they're teaching people how to garden. It was people that are teaching people how to make bread. It was people they're teaching, you know, you have a junkyard by you. This is the stuff you can make. You know, you have a cigar box. Here's how you make an electric guitar, and here's how you make a pickup out of a bottle cap.
Exactly.
All kinds of stuff. And I was like, wow, this is really cool, because this is people like you and me, or just somebody who has an idea that says, I want to do this. And now it's beginning to shift back to the little guy, you know, and it comes down to, again, this could be the method or the engine of change that could, you know, ultimately save our ass, because there's a lot of people there that were doing stuff that were solar powered or were alternate fuel energy sources. And Ford was there walking around taking real serious note from these people. And, you know, like there was big companies there that were saying, all right, well, what are you doing? You know, what?
Oh yeah.
This is the way they used to farm ideas from the general public.
Absolutely.
That's what used to be done. They didn't have these giant tanks of people that are paid exorbitant amounts of money to just recycle the same ideas over and over again. Right. They went out and they sent scouts out. Ford did it. Dodge did it. Chevrolet did it. I mean, numerous companies. Sikorsky did it. Pratt and Whitney did it. All these,
and often ripped off the lesser known.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but that's the difference now. Is you don't need, with these prototypes in these shops and stuff like that. You don't have. You can do it on your own. It's falling back
the higher
to
levels of complexity. That's the thing. I mean, and it's not only regulated to these, you know, these rapid prototype things that use basically like a polymer substance to. I mean, when you watch these things get built, it actually looks more like a webbing that over time builds up into this, you know, this 3-dimensional object, which then could be sanded and or, I mean, what I've done is to take the 3-dimensional printed object or whatever I've got. Usually it's gears. Everybody knows what I do.
Yeah.
So it's gears, or it's a particular component, and I'll take that raw component, I'll cast that in RTV rubber, and then bring it back out, recast it, and then smooth and polish that final out. So that's my final prototype off of that, and then I'll mass produce that. But now they've even got things, and here's where it really gets bizarre. They actually have machines out there, and I'm not sure what the medium is called anymore, but it's probably the same sort of polymer sand, where this thing you lay out. I mean, what amounts to sand in a tray. Mm-hmm. And the sand is laid in micrometers of this tray, and as this laser passes over top, it melts these fine particles together. Lay out another piece of sand, go over it with laser, sand, laser, sand, laser. This thing can prototype faster than your average polymer webbing machine that can do a prototype that way.
And it's available to the layman, you know.
It absolutely is, yeah.
It's not something that, you know, a scientist somewhere out in the middle of nowhere is using to, you know, build something with. You can get a hold of this.
And those things, I'm telling you, it's amazing the final thing that comes out. Once you dump that polymer sand out, you have ostensibly something that you could go right to mold with.
Yep.
It's that clean, and it's just ridiculous.
That's what Leno's machine was doing. They were showing he was making a gear for a Stutz Bearcat or something.
Yeah. I mean, it's fantastic for that kind of stuff. I mean, so the maker movement in and of itself is, I think, a response to people saying, I'm tired of having mass-produced shit that I don't need.
Yeah, and another thing is, a lot of it is it's geared towards it's environmentally friendly. There's no thought of you know, like what I learned when I went to the Maker Faire is it really got me into gardening and canning, which I never expected. I went there and there's people there. This is how you can food. This is how you garden. This is how you preserve stuff. And I was hooked. And I last year, you know, been listening to Jeremy too. Also, I was like, well, maybe I should plant my own vegetables and start doing this. And you know, I turned into a canning madman last year, and I'm looking forward to doing it again this year.
Yeah,
you know, I can't. I'm doubling the size of my garden this year because I'm so looking forward to it. And it was cool.
You know what's interesting about all this is that you know, it used to be that people would make individual things, like you're talking about this maker movement, and that was respected for the individuality of the piece, whether it be a cup or whatever it was, an artwork, it didn't matter. And then came mass production and, you know, the conformity of objects, you know, mass-produced glasses, mass-produced whatever. And then if something had a defect in it, you know, that was sold as defective as opposed to unique.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so maybe there's just something in us that is like, after too much of that, or too much of that in every direction in life, and being, you know, pummeled with it, and then also having these mega corporations consolidate into even just a handful of mass-produced objects, you know, because they've bought up all the competition. So what's left? Maybe there just is something in us that, you know, innately can't be that robotic for that long. And we need to, you know, express ourselves and to cherish and use the objects that we make with our own two hands.
Well, and that's the thing about, like, I mean, people look at IKEA furniture and go, that's completely soulless stuff. I mean, I was just in there 2 weeks ago. I mean, I hate to say it because, I mean, IKEA got me my start when I got my first apartment, but ultimately, when you watch, just say, for instance, one of my favorite shows is Antiques Roadshow, and you look at some of the stuff that comes through there that was made by hand, and guess what? It's still around. Wonder where IKEA furniture will be in 200 years? Wonder no more. It will be part of the earth.
Well, here's the thing. You know,
it will not be in your fucking living room. I got news for you. I mean, it's not going to last.
Sitting in my dining room that's over 200 years old that I got from the auction.
Exactly. I mean, that's the problem, is that nobody wants to. I mean, you look at silversmithing. There was just a thing on the other night about. Something I couldn't personally believe was even possible for someone to do back in just even say the 1700s, looking at tea sets. I mean, everybody's seen those silver tea sets. I know what you
saw. You watched how it's made when they were making the tea.
No, actually, it was on the Roadshow.
Was it?
Yeah, and they were showing this incredibly ornate thing actually made in Baltimore. Baltimore silver is like apparently world known, which I knew about Stife silver and all of that, but this company I'd never heard of before. And, you know, this teapot and this entire set was completely covered in ornate vine and leaves and grapes and all, and it's covered in this stuff. Yep. And the man says the way this was done was there was a roughing from the rear or the inside of this piece, and then finally detailed on the outside. And I'm looking at this and I'm going, that wasn't just stamped. See, this is where the brain goes to these days. We're thinking, that's got to be stamped.
Yeah,
no, moron.
Those machines,
this stuff actually sat with a set of tools in a guy's lap, and he pounded on it for 3 or 4 days, and then came outside of it and said, now I've got to put all this detail in. And that's the kind of thing that, guess what? It's still sitting around. And guess what? It still looks as good as it did the day he probably made it.
Absolutely.
Well, that's
the building I work in is Silversmith Park here in town. The amount of stuff that was, the amount of lives that were lost and the amount of stuff that was made in the factory that I'm working in now is astonishing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's this kind of thing, I think, is what we're missing out of today's technology. I mean, you look at the iPhone, it's a pretty thing, but
it's not built to last.
There's absolutely well, I mean, I don't say they're not built to last because God knows if it can survive my kid. They're built. I mean, my droid is built like a tank.
Well, I've still got a first generation iPhone that I use, so I've got it jailbroken to use it with a different service. But
well, there you go. I mean, and part of it is that those things, to me, they're great tools. They definitely keep you connected to the net. They definitely keep you connected to family and friends and email and all that. And that's all great to a certain point. Until you realize then how much you become dependent on them.
See, that's the thing. I deliberately keep myself at a 200 megabyte a month plan so I don't get super dependent on it. Yeah. It's still ultimately, I Wi-Fi the crap out of it, but I don't use a whole lot of data on it because I don't want to become that attached to it. Yeah. But with your other point, though, the stuff that was old, like I live by the Henry Ford Historical Museum, and I love going to that place. I'll go in there and I'll see the old turbines and stuff like that, and the ornate, like there's turbines that are in there, and they're designed, there's old Gothic ones that are there. They're designed like Gothic churches, and these things were built the way they were built because they were designed to be built and bought one time because you couldn't afford to buy this stuff all the time. Like these turbines, I'm looking at them like, that's a turbine, but it looks like a cathedral from a church because they went the extra effort to put that, to make it look good because they knew that whoever bought this thing was going to buy it essentially one time and that was it. And the craftsmanship. Yeah, I was just going to say craftsmanship was put into it, and you don't see that now in the mass-produced world.
Well, it's pride. I mean, that's what it comes down to, and it's pride.
Jeff, you'd know something about that.
Yes,
we've seen some
guitars.
of your guitars.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of pride in those things.
Pride and blood. Yeah, I mean,
there's that.
It's yeah. I mean, that's part of the art of making anything. I mean, you talk about, like, look at your average Singer sewing machine these days, which is largely made out of plastic. There's some metal parts that are in it, nylon wound things. And now go back to
just the one that's sitting here in my basement?
Even 1910, 1920. I've picked up and resold and refurbished antique stuff for years, and some of the prettiest shit you will ever see is sewing equipment from Singer. And I'm not kidding you, not mass-produced gilded stuff, but hand-done, hand-painted, hand-sized gold leaf. Yep. In the shape of the Sphinx, back when all that revival stuff was going on with the Egyptian motif.
Hammered silver birds.
Oh, absolutely. And all these things with a great amount of care in striping them. See, the skill, that's what's been really lost. And I think people are rediscovering that not only can I make something that people will appreciate, but I can also take pride in what I'm doing and how I'm making it and the way I'm doing it. That kind of stuff is lost when you go to Walmart or you go to IKEA, and I think those places they have their place, and those pieces of furniture, some of them do have their use. But again, how can you reappropriate some of that stuff? I mean, that's another big thing in making is
there's always going to be a market for that.
Yeah.
I also think that there's the other component to all of this, which is gutting the arts and all of that out of education, as if it's just some piece of education and not something that is inherent to us. I think that's a big problem that is. We're seeing the backlash now, of people going, well, wait a minute. No, I have this expression in me and I've got to get it out, and it's a perfect storm because in this economy, of course, you can't really even afford to go to Walmart all too much or any of that. So it makes sense to want to make things.
That's what I was looking forward to growing my own vegetables. Part of me was like, I'm going to save money on this,
I'm making my own cheeses. I have fresh sour cream in the refrigerator. I have fresh
the fact
butter
that
in the refrigerator.
they've got this ad, you guys must have seen it, this ad for, make your own soda.
I have it. I have a soda stream.
Oh, well, there you go. I mean, the fact that you can even do that now is indicative.
I love it.
But Jeff, I mean, this is all kind of plays to your theory of the end of this age is going to be like the Everybody Hurts video, or REM, where just everybody just puts you just drop what you're doing and stand up and go, I'm done.
What am I doing? Yeah,
what am I doing? I'm done.
Well, because it all plays to the Fight Club theory, which is my favorite theory of all, which is, what Tyler Durden said. Every day we get up and we put on fucking suits to go out to make money to buy shit we don't need.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that is the antithesis of the makers thing, as far as I'm concerned. It's like, I don't need to go out and try and find I mean, it's always great to trip across that 57 Strat, but if I want something that's got that kind of tone, I could definitely sit down and with the know-how and with the internet and with all the free information that's out there, I could make one. And so, can I do it?
It's making companies real nervous too.
We just sold a Rickenbacker.
Well, I mean, and it's even come to the point, at least for me in my little corner of the this music thing. It's a while back you did not, and there are people who will argue with me to the death about this, but I know because I've ripped them to shreds and ripped them apart and taken every bolt and every pickup out and every flash pot out.
No, not you.
To look at and say, okay, what is instantly different? And when I was working for a guitar conglomerate at one point, you look at something that's made, just say in Mexico, a Mexican Fender Stratocaster as opposed to an American made Stratocaster. Okay, what is the difference? Yes, there is a little bit more in the way of materials that are a bit more selective. I'll definitely give the American Strats that. But when you're talking about Mexican built stuff, what is the major difference in those? And I actually asked.
It's the wood, isn't it?
The wood is one part. There's a difference in wood, and there's a different electronic components to a certain point.
The jumping beam.
Yes, the jumping beam makes all the difference.
But what the main problem is, and the reason that you can buy a Mexican Strat so much cheaper than an American, is that in Mexico there are no OSHA laws that delineate when you can paint. So they can paint 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in Mexico and paint your Strat. I would say just about as good as they can do in America. But in America, we've got laws that say you can only paint from such and such a time to such and such a time. And that limits production. So therefore, that's more manpower. That's more hours that have to be spent. Are they better produced? I've played Mexican Strats that play better than vintage American Strats. And I've played American Strats that have played like shit. So it goes either way. I mean, Gibson, same thing. I've bought $2,000 and $3,000 guitars that don't play half as good as ones that I've paid $400 and $500 for. That ought to tell everybody something, and everybody in the music equipment game has come across something that's been vintage that they go, my God, you're just not getting this sound out of
I went through it with synthesizers myself.
Absolutely. So. I mean, and believe me, in no way am I downgrading the importance of American-made products, but the fact remains that some of the stuff that you can buy that is considered a lesser grade is in some ways, at some points, if you hand select your stuff, is just as good as high-end made things. And then that lends you to say, well, why am I doing this? And why can't I sit down and design something that I want to make art with or to make music with? Why can't I get the materials I need, look at this, and just make my own?
Well, here's the thing. How does this all tie into the zombie apocalypse?
Well, because we have to make guns. Lots of guns.
Because when we clean up after the zombie apocalypse, we're going to have to know how to do things again. We can't just turn on the
how to make
machines.
fenders.
Right.
I just thought I'd throw that in there.
Here's a question.
You've taken a fascinating journey since the start of this. You know?
Yes. Well, so if we go back to this sort of making things routine, then will that tell us one way or the other whether there is a secret ruling elite? Because surely a secret ruling elite wouldn't allow us to do that.
No, I don't think so. It's, in all seriousness, if there is a secret ruling elite and they've been around for a long time, what keeps them around is the ability to adapt and to, and I'm not saying there is a secret ruling elite, but the ability to adapt and evolve. If there is a secret, quote unquote, ruling elite, it will simply adapt to whatever is going on, or the people that believe in the secret ruling elite will also make it adapt to conform to their belief, if that makes any sense.
Do any of you believe in a secret ruling elite?
I do to an extent. I believe that there are people out there in high positions that manipulate things for their own good. Do I think that the Freemasons rule the world? No, obviously not. We do. Actually, we've been kicking around this idea of doing an episode on the Illuminati here in another month or so, but I don't have any problem with believing that there are people out there that manipulate things for their own goods, for their own ends. These are, I believe these are corporations, and I believe there's people high up in government that will grease each other's palms to do what's best in their best interest. I can easily buy into the idea that a stupid society, a consumer society, a controlled society is what's best for people in charge. Now, do I think that there's societies that are out there controlling every aspect of our life? No, I don't think so. But I do believe that people are sheeple. I believe that not enough people stand up and question things, and when they do, they're generally looked down on, or they're fretted about, or you're laughed at if you stand up and say, what, maybe we should question this. So
yeah. But what do you make of the people who worry about these internment camps being built and all of that sort of stuff?
A lot of that's been around forever. I remember. I remember listening to Mancow Muller back in 2000 when he was on a local station around here talking about how he saw UN buses driving down the road and white buses, and there's always going to be people out there that'll push that stuff along and fearmonger that kind of stuff because they can capitalize on it. Do I think that there's UN internment camps out there? Sure, there was back in the 80s too, whatever. You're always going to hear about this stuff, but it just never comes to pass. So no, I don't.
Why don't you ask some Japanese Americans from the Second World War about internment camps?
Yeah.
Well, which is a lot of what the pictures that you see. I remember back in 88, 89, I had a guy at a UFO conference telling me, you ought to be watching what you're saying because, they're building these camps for people like you. When the motherships show up, you're the sleeper cell and you're this now. I'm like, bullshit. And he starts showing me all these pictures of these camps, and he's traveled the United States. I mean, this guy obviously was
I'm going to guess he had a book for sale too?
No, he absolutely didn't. He was just, literally one of the random lone nuts that you would meet, but he's got a binder full of photographs of all these places that he's been that are what look like concentration camps, for lack of a better way to put it. And a lot of those I looked at and I'm like, those look a lot like, the World War II Japanese internment camps and that sort of thing. I don't think that's necessarily anything that's new. Well, this wasn't there 5 years ago. I'm like, it looks older than that to me when you've got, the old Stalag 13, you got those lamps outside. I don't think that was built in 1985.
Yeah, this guy's just able to walk up to these things and photograph them without.
Oh, sure. Yeah. That's the thing. And that's been around for so long. But I look at that and I go, that's just, it's not going to happen for all the same reasons that, like everybody used to worry about China invading the U.S. and all that sort of thing. And then you hear what the,
they did.
Well, in a certain matter of speaking.
Yes.
But when you talk about, any kind of like mass roundup or something like that happening, can it happen? Oh yeah, it can happen. But I don't think it's going to happen without anymore. I don't think it's going to happen without some kind of revolution of some sort. China, the way I remember reading years ago about the Chinese president or whatever saying, there's no way we can invade America because there's a sniper behind every tree, which is ostensibly true when you look at, we might often laugh at the quote-unquote rednecks with their gun racks in the pickup truck, but guess who's going to be on the front beaches if that ever happens?
I've said it before and I'll say it again. I won't go to someone else's country, but motherfucker, you come here. I'll train a right on you. Exactly. I don't give a shit. I got enough firepower here in this basement to take care of quite a few people.
Yeah, I think that's the problem with that kind of notion that there's going to be but when you talk about, Jeremy, when you talk about the ruling elite and the makers movement and how is that going to work? It's not only that they will, like Roejen said, kind of follow along with whatever the thing is, but they will actually go out and find the best of the best in the makers area and indoctrinate them into, this could be a corporation. Allow me to fund you.
It's already happening with podcasting.
It absolutely is. It's not
where?
Project Paperclip?
Where? Somebody fund us. What are you talking about?
Well, you got seriously think about it. When podcasting first started, it was supposed to be a way for people like us that have something to say that can't get on the radio. Now you're seeing people, and I'm not knocking Kevin Smith, but you're seeing Kevin Smith is getting his own podcasting network set up with advertisers. Mm-hmm. You're seeing all these stars that are producing their own podcasts now, and they're saying whatever the hell they want, and corporations are coming along and running ads on their show because they've got star power behind them, and it screws us over. But again, this is just the way that corporations are moving into the podcasting media realm, and they're going, we're also available on Stitcher. There's a lot of people like Joe Rogan and stuff that have podcasts on Stitcher that get advertising through corporations. And the corporations will go, you know what, this is a new medium we haven't tapped into yet. The FCC isn't controlling it. It's a little bit more edgy, and it's starting to creep into our neck of the woods in the podcasting realm. Me and you, we're never going to make any money. Hell, we ask people on our show, hey, if everybody could send in $1, that would help pay our bills. We don't get nothing.
Right. Yeah.
So,
and that even goes for design stuff. That doesn't even just regulate itself to a product or an audio or a film or something like that. If there's a design aesthetic out there that is a extreme cult following of diehard people who love a certain aesthetic, then you will see the mass production companies go into that direction. They will follow. I mean,
my old business, when I was in paintball, I owned a paintball business, and I would see a lot of companies that had machine shops that would come along and they would produce a part for a paintball gun. Mm-hmm. And there were bigger companies that had their stuff manufactured over in China or whatever. They would say, you know what, that's a good idea. And they would manufacture a gazillion of them. And by the time the cease and desist order went through, or some of these companies were so small, they can't fight the big guy, that this stuff would just get made anyways. And by the time, okay, you can't make this anymore, or we're going to take you to court. Well, the company didn't care. They'd already produced their 50 million of them and put them out in the market and flooded. Exactly. Okay, whatever, we're done. We're not making them anymore. So,
how about, here's an idea. You just said that if there's a certain aesthetically pleasing thing and people agree with it, it goes out there and everybody wants it. Mm-hmm. Explain Uggs.
Exactly.
I don't even know what that is.
They're these boots.
They're the ugliest freaking boots you'll ever see in your life. They look like two sheep got in a fight and a wolf came along and killed them both. Mm-hmm. People got them on their feet.
They're the ones you see all the little raver girls wearing with the fur.
They have fur on them and everything else. They're the
when you put a pair of hot legs in it, Ro, anything looks good. Give me a fucking break.
All right, you got a point.
So, yeah, I mean, the Illuminati's out there and they're controlling stuff. They will conform and do what they have to do to be able to run things behind the scenes. And if they are out there, they've always been and they always will be. And there's nothing we can do about it. They're already watching us on Facebook. They already monitor our credit cards. They already know where we're flying to in the planes. They know what cars we buy. They know how much gas we're buying. There's nothing we can do about it at this point. The best you can do is try to do like the Maker movement is doing and say, I'm going to try to do my own thing for as long as I can and fight as hard as you can.
Well, I have a question for Lobo. Why were you so excited about the prospect of killing people a couple of minutes ago? That was really disconcerting. I'm still back there.
Really? Do you
fresh meat?
Do you want me to lie? Exactly. Have you ever?
You're watching the butcher's window as he.
Well, the thing is everybody is so. We got into a point in society where everybody's so worried about what everybody thinks and what everybody does. I just don't give a fuck. That's probably my biggest problem. I just don't care. If you. Every night I go to work, I have a pistol in my pocket because you know what? When push comes to shove and it gets down to brass tacks, I'm fucking coming home to my wife and children. Mm-hmm. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Do I think my life is more important than anybody else's? No, but I have a family at home that relies on me. Mm-hmm. It's just that simple.
Do you find that with that sort of, I don't want to say attitude, but that sort of in the foreground of going to work every day, I mean, does it create more tension on the street for you? Do people look at you sideways? Like, I know that when I go to, for instance, I don't do this anymore, but when I would go dancing in New York, I had a friend who was one of those tough guys, and the other tough guys in the room would all know who each other is, and they would all challenge each other. You know what I mean? So ultimately, he would end up in a fight with somebody because you just sort of.
Nobody knows I am. Though.
Yeah, you just sort of you pick each other out. I mean, so if you're a guy with a gun, walking on the street and you're ready for the worst case scenario. Do you find that the worst case scenario approaches you more than the average person, or no?
Here's the thing. When you're trained by the NRA and you're trained to take your courses and your classes, the last thing that you do is pull your sidearm. That is the last thing to do. The first thing you're told to do is try to get away from the situation.
Leave, yes.
Leave. Try to talk your way out of it. If you're going to be in physical contact, you use hands. You use any other thing you have at your disposal. You do not pull your sidearm unless there is absolutely no other option, ever.
Well, and you don't pull it as a deterrent either.
Nope.
If it's out, it's out. There should be something coming out of it.
That's right. If you pull your gun, you better be using it.
But do people challenge you on the street? I mean, have you gotten into any sort of altercation where you thought, I got to pull my gun now?
Nope,
never. That's good.
Even before I had a pistol, I've had guns pulled on me, and the guys that pull the guns are fucking punks because they won't use them. They use them as a scare tactic. Mm-hmm. Put the fucking gun away so I can put my fist through your forehead. They don't.
I mean, here's the other thing though with carrying is I think it would be amiss to say that everybody who, and this goes for female and male, people who carry, how do you put this in the correct way? I don't think anybody walks around with their chest out and no weapon. If you're weaponized immediately, I think you've got a certain amount of confidence in the way that you carry yourself, which can make you a target at times. And I think that I wonder out there how many, because I've actually run into people like this who say, I'm not afraid to go anywhere with my Smith & Wesson.
I know those.
And my answer is, guess what? There's still places you don't go.
No, absolutely not.
I mean, these people, I think, are playing the Sakatumi game where, they're carrying around a large caliber firearm and they're walking into neighborhoods where they really don't need to be. And at that point, you're looking for trouble.
That's right. You don't tempt fate.
We had a story on the news this week, which was pretty shocking out of Baltimore, where a guy literally is standing, I'm assuming, waiting for a bus, or he's standing on the street. He's approached by a large group of individuals, and essentially they distract him momentarily. They take his car keys. They beat him severely. They put him down on the ground. They rip him practically naked. And this is, by the way, right in front of a city courthouse. Okay. And after he's on the ground, they're still stomping and kicking and all that sort of thing. I mean, I watch this video and I think that's horrible. It shouldn't be happening. It's an outrage. But the other part is, did this guy not think to get out of that situation, or to run, or to leave where he is? I mean, again, now it's come out that the guy was slightly inebriated. So that's why he didn't leave. It's also a good idea that if you're inebriated in a major city, to stick with friends and not go alone.
That's right.
But had that man had a gun, inebriated, he's got a firearm, he's in a place where he might not want to be, and you've got an even bigger front page story to worry about, because then people are going to die, and that's what I've got a problem with. Is I carry non-lethal weapons every day. Right. And frankly, I don't ever want to pull one out, particularly a mace gun. I don't ever want to pull a mace gun out on anybody.
Yeah, because I've seen what happens when you pull a mace gun out.
That's right. I nearly shot Jeremy in the face with a mace gun.
Oh my god! I don't see. The thing is I have friends that are knuckleheads, and they if you're going to get a pistol permit, see, it's like there's so many different avenues. I have friends that are completely and totally against guns, and I understand. I completely understand, and the majority of them are they state their stance, and then they just leave it alone. But then you got these people that are like, well, we need stricter gun rules because that'll keep the criminals from. No, it won't, because criminals don't follow law.
Right.
That's why they're criminals.
Yeah.
So when you go to your classes and you take your test, now you have to pass. You have to pass a safety course. You have to pass a course in Connecticut. I can only speak for Connecticut, because I know in Florida they pretty much just here's your gun.
You got to take a background check too.
Yeah, you have a background check. You have to be checked by you. When you have your background check, they check it goes to your state, it goes to local government, local police, state police. From state police, it goes to FBI, and from FBI, it goes to any other department that is answered by the FBI.
Do they know about
and they
the
do a background check on them. No, absolutely not.
Okay, very good.
Now,
keep that from them, sir.
Well, there you go. See, now when the guy came back, it was the second time in my life that I was told by someone that was in a federal agency that I was a ghost. There was no record of me whatsoever. You shouldn't have any problem whatsoever. Now, the majority of people that go and get their pistol permits are just that. They're law-abiding citizens. They're people that they want it for one of two reasons. You either want it for self-protection or you want it for recreation. If you want it for self-protection, you're going to have other things in your quote-unquote arsenal other than that firearm. You're going to know how to take care of yourself physically with just hand-to-hand combat. You're going to know how to use anything and everything within your vicinity as a weapon if necessary. And then again, the worst case scenario is your firearm. You don't want to have to pull that thing unless it's absolutely, positively necessary.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not like if I go into a restaurant or a Burger King and there's a guy with a gun on his hip, I'm not really worried about that guy. He's not the one that I'm worried about because he's gone through all kinds of steps to get that gun. And yes, he probably could flip out, pull a gun out, and start shooting people inside of the Burger King. But
you never hear about law-abiding gun carriers doing that.
No.
They're not on the people that go through the training are usually, I don't want to say there's never been a case because that's like saying, everybody that smokes is going to get cancer. It's just You can't. It's everybody's different. But in the same token,
and here comes here comes the big problem with people carrying, and I'm all about it. I mean, I've carried before, but there's a little problem to me, and it's probably most of the reason why I started going non-lethal stuff is that there is this notion that if you are in that situation and there is no other option and you draw down on somebody, are they going to run? Are they going to draw? Chances are if they're in your face, to a certain point, or if it's a group of people, chances are one of them is packing.
Yep.
And there's you can say, oh, I'd be able to keep my head. No, you won't keep your head.
No one can guarantee
No one can keep their head. Police officers, if you've ever seen some of this footage of them being pulled over and somebody pulls a gun out, they cannot keep themselves together. They are shaking. Everyone is scared of a gun. I don't care who you are, especially when you're at the business end of it. Therefore, I've got to ask the question that they teach you in classes: what will you hit if you miss the target? And this is the problem, is that not everyone lives in an area such as Oklahoma where if an officer pulls somebody over and they draw on him and he goes to pull his weapon out and fire back, he knows what's beyond them.
Yeah, you're just going to kill an Oklahoman and nobody gives a shit.
You might get the occasional steer that wanders, through the picture. But, when you're talking about New York City or Baltimore or Pittsburgh or any major metropolitan area,
you could hit an actor.
Somebody's pulling a gun.
You could hit an actor.
Somebody's going to get hurt. And more often than not, it's like a bullet locator is the 5-year-old standing by the street corner, or the elderly person in their house sitting in there. This is where I have the problem, is that nobody can keep their head together to use this, especially not in these crowded areas. That's where it becomes so problematic.
But again, you have the common sense and foresight to be able to think of that. So that again separates you from the others. That's the big thing.
That's the other thing. I had a 45 and I got rid of it. I'm like, no, I don't. I have a 357, 2 9mm, a 25, and a 22, and 9 times out of 10, the one that's in my pocket is either the 22 or the 25. Small caliber,
right? Close
range. If I miss the guy, I'm all by myself in the shop. I'm going to hit the refrigerator,
right?
I don't. The only time that pistol is with me is when I'm alone at work. It doesn't. I don't bring it out with my kids. I don't bring it out if I'm going down to a crowded place. I'm not bringing my gun. Not a chance, because there's police officers there, and they're paid to do that.
Right. They got it covered. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And the only other time that I carry a firearm during the day is if I'm going to the range, and you never carry hot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You go down to the range, you put your stuff out, you squeeze off 200 rounds, you put it away, and you hope to God you never have to use the thing.
I feel kind of stupid here because I have black powder guns. So,
oh my God, what are you going to do with that? Hold on a second, stand right there.
I got to get a cap out. Hold on.
So the moral to the story is, if you can't make it to the Big Island during zombie apocalypse, go to Connecticut. Go to Lobo's. He's got you covered.
Yeah, you don't want to come to my house. I can offer you canned tomatoes and a muzzleloader.
That's awesome. Here, have some tomatoes. Hold on a second while I shoot them. Oh, crap, I missed. Hold on a second.
The difference is, if Roejen hits you with a percussion ball, you're not getting up.
Yeah.
No, God, no. 50 caliber or bigger? No, you're not getting up.
I've got
You don't have a face.
I've got a 32 caliber squirrel rifle black powder, actually.
Oh,
yeah.
That's
I've never actually shot a squirrel with it. I'm not sure if a squirrel would be left.
I have never killed a living thing with a firearm of any form, ever. I refuse to hunt. I'd rather pit my wits against a cheeseburger. I won't kill another animal to eat it unless I absolutely have to, and I haven't run into that yet. I catch fish and I throw them back. Now, I can't speak of what my life was like pre this whole situation because I have a tainted past, but I've never killed an animal with a firearm of any form. BB gun, crossbow, nothing.
Well, my only home defense, I mean, aside from I've got an Arisaka rifle, it's from World War II, but
awesome,
sweet.
I do love those. But and when I got it, it had the had the frog, had the sheath, and it had the bayonet on the end of it. And I just said to Lisa the other day, I was getting ready to oil it down. I was sitting back here in the back room. I said, there's nothing else that I've ever seen on the planet that says war like a high caliber rifle with a big knife on the end of it.
Yeah. I had a Mosin Nagant too.
My big home protection thing is a Mark I #1 flare gun from Webley, and that's a 37 millimeter shell.
I think we've totally lost Jeremy here.
I just I don't own a lock on my door. I kill them with kindness because I live in this world.
Here, have some cookies. You can't write this guy. He dances.
That was a horror, right? You do know that.
Well, that's what I'm banking on. Why do you think I moved here?
Oh my God.
No, it's true. I don't even have a lock on the door. This place is the friendliest place on earth.
I'd love to visit there someday.
I thought
I really
you were living
would.
in Hawaii, not in Disneyland.
Yeah.
Oh, you said friendliest place.
Yeah, what'd you think I said?
Happiest place.
Oh. No, it's definitely not the happy. Although it's pretty close, where you don't have the spirit of aloha, you have New Agers pretending they have the spirit of aloha. So either way, it kind of works.
I was curious about that. Is your island full of a lot of New Agers? Is that like a New Age mecca there, or
There's a lot. See, this is the Big Island is certainly the most native. It's certainly the least touristy, although there are tourist spots. The downside of that, of course, is that yes, a lot of New Age people move here, cults and communes and all sorts of stuff. But it sure keeps it interesting.
Have you?
There aren't a whole lot of cults in cold climates. I don't understand that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's magic. I don't know.
Have you tried to find the set of Lost yet? Because I know you're somewhere. It's somewhere out there around you.
No, but when last I was here, I took an ATV tour of Hurley's golf course, so I at least found that.
Oh my God!
Are you going to go and check out Molokai?
What's Molokai?
The leper colony. There's only like I don't know, like 10 people left there.
Boy, we're right back to the living dead, huh? No, I don't think.
Well, here's the thing: leprosy isn't. It's called Hodgkin's disease, and you can treat it with like antibiotics now.
Oh, what are they doing?
They're just hanging out. It was a missionary set up during that time. I mean, they used to. One of the guys from another podcast just went out there to go and see. He's like, "There's like 2 guys there, and like 82 years old. They're just
I have these visions of Jeremy walking up the driveway of a leper colony. Hey, you dropped your arm back there. I'm just saying.
Want a tip?
Yeah. Sir, can you tell me where the nearest kava bar is? Oh, it's over there.
Hey,
Oh,
did you hear about the guy, the leper who ran into the screen door? He straightened himself.
Yes.
Yeah, there's nothing. I bet it's a great smelling place. Lepers in the sun, just
What do you call a leper in a hot tub? Chowder.
Hey.
Yeah, but Jared, it's got a side of coconut and pineapple, so
It's got to be good. It's got to be good.
Paratopia, everybody.
A lot of fish.
Yeah,
Is this being recorded?
Oh, yeah.
Expected this to be a normal show?
You better hope not.
You got to know when you get us on the air.
Yeah, right. Oh.
We're going to take you into some strange directions.
So have we covered everything? We covered meat, we covered guns, we covered the zombie apocalypse, the Illuminati, the
Maker movement.
The Maker movement. What else did we want to talk about?
Oh, mermaids.
Oh, God.
Other than flying saucers, huh?
Now that you say mermaids, here's something sort of interesting. I don't remember the name of the people, the Menorenge or something like that. But there's where I just was snorkeling today.
Saw a mermaid.
There is a it's a human-made rock wall that's sort of a breaker out there that it sort of farms in the fish and keeps out the sharks, kind of thing.
It's aware.
And it's been there for forever. And the Hawaiians say that they didn't make it. That it was made by this tribe of really tiny people who then disappeared into the forest fairyland style. And anthropologists used to think that this was just a myth, but the more that they look around and they see these things, they're starting to wonder if there isn't some truth to it. Not that they're fairies, but that they were, islanders from another island, little hobbit people.
Yeah, they were called the Menahunis.
The Menahunis, yeah, thank you, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I read a whole article on them, probably about, I don't know, maybe 6 or 8 months ago. It was fascinating stuff.
Yeah, so what is the take of the article? That these are a lost tribe, or that they are mythical?
I think what the guy was trying to point towards was the idea of, the Homo florensens, the hobbit.
Right.
It was a smaller version of, the normal hominid species that was on the island at the time. A leftover, I don't want to say a relic species, because, if it was living side by side, if it had this kind of technology that's being used, in all essence, if you're building a weir to drive fish into the area, it's technology. It may be rudimentary to what we look at now, but it's technology nonetheless. And if these, this Homo florensens was doing the same kinds of stuff, they think maybe the Menehune tribe that's spoken of on the islands may have been a relic species or a relic group of these people. There's also talk of maybe some of the stories of fairy folk, some of the lesser known tribes that are in the Pacific Ring of Fire were also considered maybe part of this group, because Micronesia isn't that far off considering the distance to the Hawaiian Islands. It's not that far-fetched to believe that they might have left Micronesia and gone to Polynesia. It's not that far of a skip.
Now, did they know that these people were tiny people when they named it Micronesia? Or is that a happy accident?
It's funny you guys should be talking about mermaids. Did you hear about Dr. Paul Robertson's site?
Oh, my God. Yeah, it was taken over. You know why? Because he was saying that the Navy was involved.
I don't even know what you're talking about. Tell us what you're talking about.
www.believeinmermaids.com was seized by Homeland Security, the website. I'm completely serious. Go to the website, believeinmermaids.com. It's exactly how it's spelled. Go to the website, and it was seized by Homeland Security.
Now, this guy he's got a YouTube thing that was supposedly on Animal Planet, and it was about mermaids. And he said that they have proof, and this is the term he used. They have proof that sonar weapons are being used, and that it's what's causing all the beaching of whales and dolphins and porpoises. And then blatantly stated that it has to be the American naval group that is doing this. The Navy.
Yes. In fact, I am sitting on believeinmermaids.com, and yes, it does say this domain has been seized by DOJ Homeland Security Investigations pursuant to a seizure warrant issued by the United States District Court under the authority of 18 U.S.C. 286, 287, and 371.
That's messed up.
Wow.
You can actually watch the video on YouTube. It's still available on YouTube. But I
For
believe the
now.
reason why, he made a blanket statement that the U.S. Navy is using a sonar weapon. Hello?
To fight the mermaids?
Against
To
the
kill them
mermaids.
off. Yeah, to kill off the intelligent living beings under the waters.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well,
That
here's the
shit
thing.
crazy.
Stay on the beach.
That's
You
it.
know?
Something
It's kind of
tells
like
me.
the Family Guy episode where a woman's being raped on the beach, and it's like you're about as useless as Aquaman, and Aquaman's like, "Hey, you better get off of her." I'm gonna keep her there.
Something tells me the mermaid part of that isn't what they were after.
I gotta add you guys to my other show's podcast page.
Yeah, there's just it's amazing. I can't. It just boggles the mind. It boggles the mind that okay, I understand that we know more about the moon and our solar system at this point than we know about the deep recesses of the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
But come on. I mean, really.
Mermaids.
What I don't understand is why are they why would any government, military agency, Homeland Security, whatever, be concerned with somebody saying that about a sonar weapon? People have been saying that about Project HARP for years. What's so different about what this guy's saying?
The people that are talking about HARP, they're not really attaching it to anybody. There's attachment to, the aviation committees and the Air Force.
It's
and
the government.
Yeah, that's a blanket statement. The government's doing it. The government's doing it. But when something else is amiss, something else is afoot, because some of the recordings that were quote unquote seized, something's making a lot of racket down there. And if they are indeed using something that is the next generation of weapons class, or it could be another submarine, they're going to do the same thing that they did with Groom Lake and with Skunk Works. They don't want you knowing what's going on. They're going to do everything in their power to move you out of there. Is it UFOs? It's airplanes they don't want you to know about because it's the government. They're paying tons of money on
This is all viral marketing for Cloverfield 2. And I can't believe you guys are buying into it.
That's what I said about the noises video on YouTube.
Yes.
That rash of noises.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And
You know what's funny?
Have you
After
heard any
you
of them?
said that, did you see how fast that took off on the internet?
Yeah.
I think me and you said it at about the same time, and all of a sudden, like within days, it was like, "Oh, this is Cloverfield 2 marketing."
Okay, Jeff, have you actually heard any sky noises?
Yeah, odd that you should ask that. My problem is that I live near a proving ground where, I don't know if you guys are familiar with what Anzio Annie is. She's over in the proving grounds, and they do fire her at an island that sits out in the bay.
What is her? What are you talking about?
Anzio Annie was a railgun that, meaning not a railgun as in a railgun, but a railroad cannon that was German, if I believe correctly. And it's a immensely large cannon that I don't know what size shell it fires, but it is just huge.
What sized?
Why does it have a gender?
Well, because it's Annie. That's what they call her. It's Anzio Annie, and I know that they fire her. I've not heard that in a while. Gosh, I think when we first moved up in this area, when I first bought the condo, every once in a while I would hear some sort of late night kind of, not even an explosion, just kind of a boom. You would hear that sort of thing.
Right.
And not quite know what it was. But the other morning we were getting ready 2 days ago or a day ago, I was going up the steps. I'd taken maybe 2 steps up, and there was a boom that literally you heard the window glass reverberate. And I said, what in the fuck was that? And Lisa was upstairs laying in bed, and when I went up there, I said, did you hear that? She says, yeah. And I said, that's not the proving ground. She goes, no. And when I left, she said about half an hour later there were 2 more that were even louder, and she said, yes, it did in fact shake the window panes. So what that is, I don't know, but I live near a proving ground, so I can't say anything. I can't say anything about any noise that I was here, because you never know what they're exploding, shooting. I know back in the day, Anzio Annie was what they attributed a lot of the noise to. But in fact, they do have a rail gun that they're testing there. They do have a lot of stuff that is constantly getting fired, so you don't know what you're hearing. I've not heard the trumpets. I have not heard the large gong sound thing, although that gong sound creeps me the fuck out.
Yeah, the first time I heard it did, but...
only because it's so
Wait a minute.
You know?
Tell people why it creeps you out.
It creeps me out because I think at this point, most people have heard what I've talked about at 9 years old when this alien wearing a wok hat for a head, for a hat, walked in and clapped in my face, and it sounded like a gong the size of the neighborhood. That is pretty much what it sounds like. I mean, it is. My instance was a lot more sudden at the onset, whereas these sky noises that sound like a gong, they don't seem to be. The forefront of the sound doesn't seem to come on instantly. It's kind of a gradual build up and then gradual ebb away. Mine was boom, and that reverberation sound, that almost sounding like two cymbals grinding against each other in that gong-like fashion. That is pretty much what it sounded like, and I've never quite heard anything like that.
The image that came into my mind when you said that, this is going to minor derail this, was the scene from 16 Candles where Dong is sleeping on the couch and the dad walks in and claps his hand and says, "Dong, where's my automobile?" This image of an alien clapping his hands going, "Jeff, where is my UFO?"
Yeah.
Anyways, what about the video out of Florida? Have you seen that one where the woman is standing outside videotaping during the storm and she hears the rumble in the sky coming from all directions?
Yeah, and the lights are coming on around the neighborhood. Yeah.
And they're just filming the sky, and it goes on for about 15, 20 minutes, and then it fades. It sounds like an airplane right overhead.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of them out there. I mean, like everything else, if something weird gets reported and it gets noticed, then there are 15 billion hoaxes that come after that, where they've lifted the audio and put it into their own film. But there's a handful of them out there that, I mean, I would say in particular is the one in Kiev is really interesting as far as the trumpet type sounds. It's also been described as sounding like a freeway with a lot of traffic on it where there is no freeway. I mean, so there, you've got that sound too. So whether or not that's some kind of I mean, the booms around here, I mean, I'll put it to you this way. When my son was in kindergarten, I think, we were walking out to the car. This was at the condo. We were walking out to the car, and I had forgotten something, and I said, stay right there. I went back up inside. 2 seconds I was out, in the house, grabbed his lunch off the table, came back down the steps, and when I opened the door, I heard an immense boom that sounded really, really close. And so I looked down, and Cody is standing at the end of the sidewalk where the car is, and he's looking up. And I said, "What's going on?" And he says, "There was a big thing in the sky. It was beige, and it was shaped like a diamond." And he said, I looked up, and it was already practically not there. He said, "But I just saw it for a split second, Daddy. What was that?" I said, "I don't know." And when I look up, I see a contrail that looks like donuts on a rope. And exactly. And then later, much later on, you see on a documentary where they're flying this thing from out in, probably, I mean, this is a special in Area 51, so I guess they were saying 51, out over the East Coast, right over Maryland, and out into the ocean. And you think to yourself, was that what that was? And if so, are they still flying that pattern? Is that what this is? It's a sonic boom, and is that what's shaking the windows? Around here every now and then. I don't know. Is that what people are hearing as far as these sounds go? I don't think so. I don't know what that is, but
I gotta wonder, at what point does Aurora become old technology? I mean, you would think by now that they've probably moved on to something else, because
Aurora's got to realize that Aurora was a platform. It wasn't an actual, it was a plane that was used, and it's a platform for technology. It's not an actual plane that's going to be mass produced and used over and over again.
But at what point do they say, all right, well, let's evolve this onto something else? So You know, how long's Aurora been around? 10 years or something
maybe
like that?
it didn't
10
work.
years.
I mean, that's the other thing.
Yeah, exactly. You know, maybe exactly. It's very possible. You know what? This idea is costing us too much. It's not working. We have these drone things on the way. Let's just, you know, put this project off to the side. Or maybe
people have been talking about Aurora for years, but I mean, much longer than 10 years. But nobody really knows, even hardcore, what it looks like. I mean, I've seen. What is it, Aviation Weekly or one of these aviation
Popular
magazines
Science.
show it as a diamond that looks like it's been split in half with panels on it, and it's beige. I saw that much later than when my son had said he'd seen this weird thing. I mean, I didn't even know that we've got a hardcore example of what does this thing look like.
exactly.
Right.
I mean, I've seen all sorts of different variations on what that is, but Aurora seems to be this catch-all name for any kind of
Exactly.
supersonic technology that we don't know that uses possibly nuclear detonation engines. We just don't know what the hell it is.
Well, that's what they started tagging the scramjets that they were building
Right.
as Aurora for the longest time, and the scramjets, Skunk Works tore a scramjet out. They had it sitting next to a warthog. I'm like, well, here's a plane, and everybody's like, well, that can't be what we were seeing. I'm like, that thing's moving at subsonic speeds. Yeah, this is what you saw.
Right.
Hey,
But
Jeff,
nobody, even if you show it to them, they don't want to hear it.
when that guy brought you into a van and showed you that object, that
Was it a clown?
Yeah, so that clown
He
brought
said
you
he
into
had
his van.
ice cream. Leave me alone.
He said he had ice cream. Did he touch you in your bathing suit area?
Go ahead. We're sorry. Go ahead.
Well, so Jeff sees this videotape of some sort of airplane that comes out, stands on its nose, right? All of that. Have you seen anything like that come out? I mean, anything that even
Area.
resembles the shape of the thing that you saw?
No. I
Even
mean, the only
Aurora?
thing. No. Everybody remembers the Executioner ship from Return of the Jedi, right?
Yes.
Vader's big Star Destroyer. That was kind of the shape
Executor.
of that thing. It's like it just kind of
Like arrowhead shape?
like a very long, narrow arrowhead. Now, the only thing that I can say is that, and this is where it gets into what exactly did she see? I don't know, but I will say that at the point where our lives here were a three-ring circus with paranormal stuff. When we lived at the condo, of course, you have an external mailbox that is usually down at the corner. It's a big, like a stainless steel box, and it's got all these little doors on it, and that's where you get your mail. Well, she had walked down to the corner to get our mail one night and came running up back to the condo, white as a sheet. She said, "You've got to come out." This would be my wife,
Okay.
and I ran outside, and I didn't see anything. All I saw, kind of at a distance, was something that appeared to have a lot of small white lights on it, but they weren't steady on. It was kind of like a blink here, a blink there, a blink and a little movement, and then it was gone. I mean, it was ever so brief. She said when she came out to the mailbox that there was something very large that she said, I mean, I asked her the typical question, how far at the outstretched arm? She said probably pencil length at the outstretched arm, which is pretty big.
Yeah, it is.
She said she couldn't discern what shape it was, but that whatever it was had small, very bright, pinpoint white lights on it that were traveling, and it was a lot of them. And she said some of them would stop, some of them would move, and then the whole thing would kind of like rotate and reset. And it just kept, and she said it was moving rather slow. And I had asked this man that had shown me this kind of weird little video clip of this thing, and that's kind of what this thing displayed, was what they called starlight camouflage. Whether or not that's real or not, I haven't a clue. But if it is something that projects a star pattern at high altitude to points on the ground, that would render it pretty much invisible to the eye. That's the only time I've seen something that kind of sort of maybe looked like what that was in that video, Jer.
See, a lot of this stuff now, though, with the advent of drone technology, you got to wonder how much, like Aurora and all this stuff, how much is that even relevant anymore? Because now with the advent of drones, you could do crazy things with aircraft without worry about killing your pilot. You don't have to worry about G-forces. So it's very possible you could have an aircraft that could fly, stop, stand on its nose in midair and churn and do things like that. So, you know, I mean,
again, you can't even negate, even back then, when you look at that, you know, when I talk about that video, I mean, I can't say for sure, you know, was this lighter than air technology? It certainly didn't look like it. But what does that look like? I mean, does it have to look like a blimp?
no,
It certainly doesn't have to look like a
anything.
blimp.
You know, the idea of star camouflage technology makes perfect sense.
Right.
Again,
I mean,
if you translate that down to, well, look at that drone that they think it was a drone, that UFO-shaped object that was filmed going through the town on the back of that military flatbed truck.
Right, yeah.
It certainly looked very UFO-shaped. Now, I'm looking at that, and I'm like, well, that's probably not a UFO because it has landing gear on it, and I can't see Zeta Reticuli or reptilians using a Goodyear tire on, you know.
Right. Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, that certainly did look UFO
tires.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, and I mean, people see videos like that and they immediately think that it's some
aliens.
It's some kind of craft of some sort. I mean, even if it's ours, they think it's some kind of craft. And again, I got to caution people. You have to put everything in a context of what you're looking at. You don't know what you're looking at. You think you see landing gear, but I mean, a while back there was a big story where they had unearthed these large magnets, and it was a big story. It was written up in several, you know, these paranormal periodicals out there in the day. They had unearthed these things. They were extraordinarily weird looking. They looked like horseshoes, but they had big ribbed things. I mean, this thing might as well have walked off the set of like the Halo franchise, right? And they come out of the ground. And people are like, what the hell are these? And there were all sorts of rumors that there were hieroglyphics on them that could only be seen with an electron microscope. And I'm like, what are you talking? How would you get that under an electron microscope? It's huge. Okay, give me a break. And what they turned out to be were plasma magnets from plasma reactors, and they bury them. You know, I mean, that's what it turned out to be. And so when you see something like that on the back of a truck that seems to be rather secretive, I mean, you always got to wonder: is this some kind of technology that is for a power plant that might be the innards of something that you don't even know what it might look like? Stuff like that. I didn't pay 2 minutes of attention to that flatbed video because I'm like, we don't even know what that could be. That could be something completely mundane that is only a piece of a larger picture of something that may not even be related to flight.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
You know, there's where that problem comes in when you try to kind of disassociate yourself with the UFO field and say, all right, enough, okay?
Well, isn't it good enough that you're saying it's not a UFO?
Yeah, I mean,
isn't it good enough that you're at least fighting the battle on that front right there? You know,
I mean, it's not only that; it's how can you really? This is the wall I think that we're up against. I mean, you take a case like the Phoenix sighting, and I don't mean the flares. I mean the earlier alleged mile-wide V-shaped thing. You know. I mean, you look at something like that, and immediately I hear people say things like, we don't have something that's a mile wide. Number one, you don't know if it was a mile wide. Was it huge? Apparently, yes, it was huge. Where would we put something like that, someone might ask? Where would you house something that's that big? Well, if it's, guess what? If it's lighter than air technology, guess what? You fold the fucker up.
Well, on top of that, we're doing a lot of research in Australia now. In Australia, the middle of Australia is pretty much uninhabited. So there's plenty of room out there. America's sending contracts there to develop stuff now because it's so desolate. They can do whatever the hell they want there, you know, and not worry about being spied on or what have you. Right. So, you know, if it's feasible, they could put stuff like that there if they wanted to.
I mean, and the other half of if it's a solid body craft, let's not forget that there's a lot of water on this planet.
Actually, I'm going to send you a link in the chat box right now. If you go into the chat box on Skype here, click on that one. That gives you a really good picture of that craft that was being transported. And you can see wheels and whatever it is, craft or not. And it's on the back of a giant flatbed truck being escorted.
It is neat looking, though.
Yeah, it is neat looking, you know. Yeah. Oh, it's from coast to coast. Go figure.
Right, yeah.
That's fascinating. But that's where I said wheels and stuff like that from. I mean, obviously, if you're a UFO aficionado, you can see where someone's going to grab onto that and go, yes, that is an alien craft. And you look at it and you go, no, it's got tires.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
yeah.
I happen to know some reptilians and they would not use, uniroyals. Obviously not,
Well, and this comes to the problem of all of ufology. I mean, when you're talking about like Phoenix and you're talking about Gulf Breeze, and I mean, Gulf Breeze is one of my favorite cases, but ultimately when it comes down to it, we don't know what anybody's government has that frankly I don't want to know about. I mean, for obvious reasons. There's a reason this stuff is secret. It's because enemies don't need to know about it.
Exactly.
So we can whoop their ass with it later if need be.
Mm-hmm.
I understand all that, and so I respect that. But ultimately, this is where the problem runs into ufology, is everyone that sees something that we can't possibly have, which is my favorably hated thing in ufology. We don't have technology like that. Kevin Randall comes on the show and says, back in 1950, we just didn't have technology like this. How do you know? Are you privy to every freaking secret project the government's ever worked on ever? No. And so, no, you don't know that. And so how many sightings happen on a daily basis that are that kind of technology? And then how do you separate what is paranormal from what isn't? That's
you
the
also
big
have
problem.
the commercial flight industry, not necessarily even military. The commercial industry also has their version of Area 51, where they're developing their own top secret aircrafts for commercial use. Right. You have Branson doing all kinds of stuff. You even have, there's any number of things out there that it could be.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm utterly convinced that cases like Sirocco were a flight of something that had nothing to do with this phenomena at all. Mm-hmm. Even when you're talking about, I mean, when you really look at, and I could probably find this somewhere in listeners, if you go out on the net and look, I think it's called Project Morpheus, and I'm not sure if that's government funded or whether that's independent. I think it might be independent, but their logo for that looks a hell of a lot like what the real Sirocco UFOs markings were. And so how far back does that project go? Not far back enough to be the Sirocco thing, but is it a delineation of that? Is it some kind of hybrid of that? We don't know what they were testing. I've heard everything from it was a lunar lander test to it was a bunch of kids playing a prank from a local college. I mean, either way you cut it. Again, we can't say, well, we didn't have things back like when Lonnie Zamora saw this. We just didn't have that technology. You don't know what the hell we have.
Hey, Jeff, did you take a look at either of the two links that Lobo sent? One is for the F-136 orbital interceptor, and then I don't remember what the other one is.
Oh, that's pretty cool looking, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, then look at the other one. And do either of those look like what you saw? Is this your object?
Well, the orbital interceptor isn't. And Roejen's thing. That was the
there's
secret
one
project.
Up from that. There's one more up from that.
Okay, let me have a look. Nope. No, that's definitely not. That one, the hypersonic thing looks more like an airplane to me. That looks more airplane-like than the orbital thing. I mean, I'll tell you. I used to go out on my deck with a telescope and or binoculars, and this goes back to the story of being out there night after night looking in the sky for weird things. And of course, the first thing you see is the satellites that traverse the horizon. What you think is really quick, and they are fairly quick, but you don't know what they are. But you quickly find out if you go online or you talk to people. You find out, well, yeah, these are satellites, and they go any number of directions, and some of them travel in a triad type of configuration. So that's not anything weird. But when you go outside, you come in to get a drink, you go back outside, and it's dark, and you're talking about 1, 2 in the morning, and you see what looks like a black ball with straight plank-like wings that is bobbing not more than 3 feet away from the deck at your level, and it looks like it's trying to be a bird. Okay, that I can say I don't think that was anything that we might have. Although, what do I know? It might have been. But I have been out on that same deck on a different night, and I saw something that was definitely blocking out stars. that was definitely pretty large as far as the sky goes. In the field of view of the binoculars, it seemed to be a fairly large object. It was obviously not in, I would say probably, I don't know, because you can't judge distance at night as well as you should. But this thing was very, very far away by the looks of it.
Was that object Roejen?
No, in fact, it wasn't Roejen. What it looked like was your classic ice cream cone shape, where you've got a point in the front and then the back is rounded, and the back seemed to have kind of a glow to it. Other than that, it was completely black, but you could see the shape of it.
Yeah, it looks like the ship from Flight of the Navigator.
And I thought, wow, this is really bizarre. I mean, this must be something. And I think it was not more than a couple of years ago. I was online, and NASA had shown that yes, in fact, they had been using this. What was a sub or below the just below the atmosphere on the edge of space. They had some sort of lighter than air. It might as well have been a blimp. Okay, that's what this thing was. I mean, the shape was identical. The look of it, that it would have been this very narrow pointed thing with a perfectly rounded back like ice cream, fit perfectly. I'm like, that is no doubt what it must have been. If it isn't, then I don't know.
Well, here's the thing. They always say that technology is 20 to 30 years ahead of what we're actually seeing. Right. So if we're seeing this stuff now, and this stuff looks pretty fantastic, then in my logic, it's fair to say that, yeah, there's probably some pretty crazy stuff out there that we don't. I mean, I saw the Blackbird SR-71. I was like, wow, that's crazy. And that's being decommissioned,
Yeah, right. It was released in the 70s.
Yeah. Well, let's even go another step further and say that, what if we're at a turning point where we need to, as we had started talking about, change over to a different mode of energy. So if your entire modality changes, then does the direction in which one invents such things change? And so that even something that would be 30 years ahead would look, light years ahead or completely vastly different than what we've got
Absolutely.
now. Because it's on a different type of energy.
If you look at the Stanley Steamer, which was arcane at the time, in essence, it looks just like a Model T, only a Model T looks really small compared to a Stanley Steamer. Mm-hmm. It don't look like a Bugatti.
Right.
It's got four wheels. That's about where it ends. Mm-hmm. And then you got, you look at bicycles. You went from the great big Calliopes to, what the hell is the name of that stupid thing everybody rides around on now?
The unicycle?
Unicycle. What the hell?
Segway.
What world are you? The Segway, yeah.
Yeah.
How do those look? I mean, really?
Right, yeah.
I mean, the technology form has to at some point malfunction. If you have some kind of reactor or you're using some kind of ion-driven propulsion, it is not going to look the same as something that uses an internal combustion engine by any means. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it would look completely and totally foreign.
I think at least these days, I mean, even in the way of our own technology with cell phones and this sort of thing, I mean, how long ago was it when we were watching Star Trek Next Generation and they were carrying around these things called pads that ultimately became our iPhones, okay, and our droids and all of that. So we've got that now. Now, that just came from probably thinking about how can we interact with technology in a different way that's more tactile, that's probably easier to deal with than moving a plastic mouse around on a desktop. How can we make this different? And so that's approaching it from a completely different way. So now, apply that to kind of aerospace thinking and think we've got an object that has to remain in the air, that has to be propelled by either nuclear power or jet propulsion or something like or
0 point energy.
There, right.
No.
And then you've got this electrogravitic stuff and all of that. You've got all that. But now think about, okay, let's disperse with all of that. Think about how could we move something in the air and not be in the air and not have it be powered by anything. And so that's when you start talking about directional magnetics, stuff like this, where you're bouncing. I mean, is it out of the realm of thought to have some sort of thing on the ground in two places that looks more or less like a cannon or an antenna that can move at a very high rate of speed, that controls a metal object that maybe isn't any bigger than a VW bug in the air that would be able to move this thing in the air, have it stop on a dime, have it zip away at zero acceleration, everything that we think about when we talk about a UFO. Could that be done? You damn right it probably could be done.
Yeah, especially, again, with drone technology. You don't have to deal with a human on board.
Right.
You know?
And we're not talking about radio controlled or anything else. This is literally you could make a network that encompasses the planet through satellites where you could bounce this magnetic signal off of a satellite and have it come down and hold this thing in the air completely still. I mean, is that so out of the realm of – I mean, and I just thought of that as it applied to like some golf breeze footage I'd seen. Like, how would we do that? Maybe that's possible.
Yeah, why not? You mirror satellites. If you're just for freaking XM radio, you freaking mirror satellites.
Yeah, I mean the only problem with doing something magnetic like that that's directional is that how do you keep from pulling the trucks off 95 when you fire this thing up? I mean, yeah, that's where the problem comes in. You know, like it's the Wile E. Coyote with the big magnet. You know, you start pulling satellites out of orbit with it, and then you got a problem.
Oops, sorry.
But, you know. But yeah, I mean, how about you control things from the ground that aren't radio controlled but are like aimed things? Is that possible? I mean, I would assume it probably is at this point. So it's good. To me, it's just the UFO question is going to get harder and harder as it goes along because you're going to have to stop looking at what did you see, how many windows did it have, what did it look like from underneath, what did it look like, you know.
The technology is catching up with the myth at this point.
Yeah,
so for the most part, you know.
And so you're going to have to look
change.
Well, you're going to have to look at what surrounds it. I mean, you're going to have to look at what's up with that person. What did they experience?
Or it'll change. I mean, if all the stuff that we talk about on the show ends up being correct, then the form will follow function. I mean, the form will have to be something else. I mean, maybe not even technology at that point. Maybe it'll have to appear to be an organism or something, you know?
Right.
Sure,
something we can't catch up with.
Exactly. So I'll be interested to see how this all evolves in 10 years. Like, what will the UFO phenomena look like in 10 years? I mean, I can tell you what the people will look like. The people will still have, well, never
brains. Zombie apocalypse has begun. It's called ufology.
That's right. Yes.
Oh, my God.
We don't have technology that can do that.
And we just wrapped it up. Very good, gentlemen.
We don't have technology that could do that.
Full
wait a minute. How did everything, 2 or 3 years ago, therefore aliens, now it's therefore zombies?
That's right.
Wow.
That's right.
Yes.
So what we're looking at is a future of zombies and homemade machine shops.
Right. Maker zombies.
America.
Make your own zombie kit.
They're not steam.
Well, gentlemen, thank you for letting us invade your show.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, I stopped recording a while ago. This is your show.
Yeah, you realize this has gone 2 hours.
Yes, you've totally derailed our show. We're just gonna have to put the interview we did with Ted Roe up instead this week. So.
Oh God, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's fine. No, Ted was phenomenal to talk to.
No, I'm not sorry about Ted. I just, I'm sorry that we derailed your show.
It's all right. We had a backup plan.
You guys are family anyway. You guys are always welcome.
Aw.
Ditto.
And
Oh, God. See what you've done now?
See? It's always my cue.
He dances. He already brought that up. Jer, is there something you'd like to tell us?
I am a one-man free energy device.
Wow.
Oh, God.
Do you vibrate?
He's James Brown.
Well, let's not go there.
Whoa.
Anywho, yeah, we should probably call this because this is long.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
as long as last week's show.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, no, we'll never break. I don't think we'll ever break that record. I mean, that was like the Gandhi of shows. By the way, while we were on the line here, I had tagged Wes Owsley because he's also on Skype. Wes Owsley, who works for NASA, who wrote to me to correct me and say it's not ion channelopathy, as I kept saying during the whatever show we did where we were talking about alien implants might actually be these channelopathies, and it's iron channelopathy. So there's your correction from him. But he also says he can't come talk to us. He's barred from podcasting until he leaves his job.
That's right.
Yes. He's a fan of our show as well. We say hi to him every once in a while on the air.
Yeah.
That's BS.
But he says he loves the Nancy Burns episode. He listened to it twice, and having her on should become a regular thing. It's odd to me that and this is no offense to Nancy. I hope this doesn't come off that way, but it's odd to me that so many people loved that episode. Because it just wasn't that fucking good. No.
What a dick. Dude. Holy shit.
I can't
I'm
say
sorry,
that.
Nancy, you suck.
Wow.
So many words. Hawaii has changed me. Everything else sucks.
And you guys wonder why we're fucking heretics in the UFO field?
That's right.
Oh, no, we
not at all.
don't.
I love it.
This is why we stay away from the UFO field.
Can I have some
Why you
more?
never see us on the History Channel or
Well, your hair isn't big, and you don't go aliens.
Oh, you haven't seen my hair lately, Bucko. Anyway, thanks guys for letting us take over the show.
Oh, no problem. No
Thank you.
problem.
Much
Thanks for
appreciated.
thanks for being our guests.
I feel like I hit on the head with a blackjack there.
Jeremy, you can take the knife and untie them now.
Okay, great. Thank you, guys. Tell everyone where they can hear your show.
You could hear our main show at Project Archivist at projectarchivist.com. And I've got another show going on the side now. Lobo occasionally pops in, and that one's called The Ether, and that's at ethercast.com. That's more of a geekier comic book, sci-fi, just total geekdom show that pertains absolutely nothing to paranormal at all. But you can check that out there. And then,
And when can we
that's
evade that? When can Jeff and I come on that show?
you will eventually be on that show because I'm seeing strong geekiness from both of you that I'm rather impressed by. So,
Oh, fantastic.
I did one episode of my show, The Spark.
yeah,
What's the spark?
I did an episode on the Wendigo. It's going to be here and there and scattershot, but it's going to be on one particular subject, and I'll do some.
Yeah, what we do on Archivist is every once in a while I'll do a show. Like there'll be times where I'll do an episode and I'll focus on something really intently. It's just like whenever me and Lobo have an idea for individual things that we want to put down. Sometimes I'll do one, and I call mine Stasis, where I'll cover a topic really intently. Sometimes Lobo comes up with something he wants to do really intently, and if he feels like doing it on his own, we'll call his episodes The Spark. And he's more into Native American folklore, and he did one on the Wendigo, which was pretty. And I think it was a 45-minute, half-hour show, I believe it was.
Oh, about 40 minutes.
Yeah, where he just covered the topic of Native American folklore and the Wendigos. I've done them before. I've done shows on dreams and things like that. They're just little pocket shows that don't quite fit into the Project Archivist cast, but they still kind of pertain to it. So we put those on the Project Archivist feed as well. Nice. So we've always got some project of one kind or another in the works. We're always doing something. We're always trying to push the envelope and trying to educate people in some way, shape, or form that goes a little bit beyond what's in the normal realm of paranormal. Sometimes it's not paranormal. We've actually stayed away from a lot of the paranormal because it's just getting boring. There's not. You guys, I'm sure, are running into it. There's not much more you can say about.
You're telling us.
Yeah.
That's how we started this episode, actually. Funny you should mention that, yeah.
Like tonight we were on here, we didn't talk about a whole lot of paranormal. We talked about the maker fairs and things like that, So, that's just the way we like to push things. So.
Very nice.
Cool.
Therefore, zombies.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Yeah, we keep going back to armed zombies, that carry,
Molokai.
Well, thank you both again, and I look forward to geeking out with you soon on the Geek Show.
Yes, that one, I only do that one when I have time. That Project Archivist is my main bread and butter. Whenever I get an Archivist episode out of the way, then, I'll do an Ether show. But that one, we're still kind of struggling to find the identity of the show.
Wait, when you say it's your main bread and butter, and we already know that nobody has even sent you $1, what do you mean by bread and butter?
It's our main. The Archivist is my main passion. Archivist is the one that.
Well, if you insult us for charging for a podcast, then you can go ahead and charge for yours. That's
nothing
how
wrong with
that
charging
works,
for a
actually.
podcast.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely nothing wrong with that. We we can't do it. You know, it's not something we want to do, but there's nothing wrong. Like, I get really bent out of shape when people are like, oh, they charge for a show. And like Mysterious Universe catches a lot of crap. And they have a model like you guys. You guys put out a quality show, an hour-long show. You give people something for free, and then you have something that people charge for. And there's nothing wrong with that model. That's fine. You know, you guys, you put a lot of work into your show. You've been doing it for a while. This stuff costs money to do. It takes time to do. You know, I think for me to edit an episode of Archivist, it takes usually about 3 to 4 hours. You know, you got to find the music, you got to find content. And there's, for somebody to come along and say, hey, we're going to charge for this. As long as you're offering a quality product, there's nothing wrong with that. And no one's coming in and putting a muzzleloader to someone's head saying, you will download my show, you know?
Will you, you know, pay for our show?
Will I pay for your show?
Yeah.
I can't even afford to keep my own show on the air.
Ah, son of a...
Plus, you guys give me your show for free anyways, but hey, you know.
That's right. They have free accounts.
You're going to
Keep that secret. Then everyone's going to want a free account.
Oh, no, everybody has to contribute to the show. We contribute.
So. Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's not exactly free when we can just call you up in the middle of the night and hijack your own show. That's
derail our show.
You've paid, believe me.
We're babbling. Kick us off of here.
All right. Thank you again, and we'll see you never. We've never seen you in the past.
That's the way we like it.
All right.
Who the hell are you people?
Just show up with some donkey balls at your house someday.
Wow, you really do pay attention.
Oh, yeah.
Good man. Actually, you know, feel free to come visit.
If I could, I would. I would love to.
Ew. Ted goes, why don't you just come down? Like,
yeah,
there's that whole money thing.
Yeah, well, there's that.
We're podcasters. We're broke.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to go now.
Sad trombone.
Interdimensional rainbows.
Okay, you're listening to Jeff and Jeremy on Paratopia, and I'm not. Yeah, that would be good. I'm Ted Rowan. I agree with this message. No, I'm just going to say, you're listening to Jeff and Jeremy on Paratopia.
Hi, this is Bill Burns from UFO Magazine and UFO Hunters. You know, there are several ways that you can get UFO Magazine.
Yeah, we know, Bill. We know. Just shut up. Just give us one way. Don't tell us you're psychic and, you know, give it 8,000 phone numbers and take 15 minutes of our time when we just want to hear the show. Just tell us how we can get UFO Magazine in one way.
Okay. Just go to www.ufomag.com, subscribe online. You happy?
Yeah, was that so hard?
Actually, harder than you know.
So the Jeff.
So the Jer.
Good night, everybody.
that extraterrestrial? You've got to think outside the box.